inning did not hurt.
It really didn't, and Luke Bonfield got things going. Kind of a blue double down the right field line, scores Eric Cole, and then with bases loaded, a double down the third base line, clears all the bases, and then a ball that was a home run that was started foul and drifted back fair, hit off the foul pole by Casey Martin.
I'm still not sure how that ball ended up fair and off the pole, but a great catch by Dominic Fletcher later on. And again, there were all kinds of contributors offensively and defensively, part of a 13-4 win, and the Hogs did it in those middle innings.
Yeah, there was one play by the Longhorns that had 2 errors on one play in that third inning, as well as a few walks, so that's really what hurt the Longhorns.
Let's take a look at the lineup today for David Pierce's Texas Longhorns. Hibbler will lead off, followed by Hamilton and then Cody Clemens. Zubia is the cleanup hitter. Austin Todd in right field. Ryan Reynolds at first base. DJ Petrinsky homer twice last night. Duke Ellis in center. Cameron Fields getting the start in left. And they'll be facing Arkansas starter Hunter Milligan.
Yeah, Hunter Milligan is a guy that, true freshman, big kid. You see 6'4", 215, and he'll be in the upper 80s to low 90s with that fastball. Guy didn't pitch last week. He was out sick, so he's back and feeling good now, and Arkansas hopes for a big game out of him.
He had strep throat during that USC series, so they actually sent him home. They didn't even want him around the clubhouse. That's why he has not pitched since March the 1st against Dayton. So it's been 2 weeks for Hunter Milligan and 3 innings on the season. A 60-degree afternoon with winds blowing out to left as we get underway for Game 2 of this 2-game series. And Mason Hibbler steps in to begin things for the Texas Longhorns, and we are underway. Hibbler out of Cypress in the Houston area, hitting .333 for a Longhorns team that last night had 4 runs, all coming on 3 homers. It's a Texas team that comes in at 9-8, a young team, but they'd certainly like to get out of town with a win. And Arkansas trying to sweep this 2-game set before Kentucky comes to town for the league opener on Friday. Hogs with their defense a little bit different today. Kerstead, Fletcher, and Cole still in the outfield. Martin and Biggers on the left side of the diamond. But Hunter Wilson gets to start at second base. And Jordan McFarland, Troy, it's hard to keep his name out of that lineup.
Yeah, he's been red hot. Had a good BP on Sunday, and he's just carried over to the last 2 games.
In fact, his last 2 at-bats with the bases loaded, he put up 7 RBIs.
That's not too bad.
He was involved in a crazy play defensively by Texas that we'll get to later on as Hibbler takes one down for a ball, and that is a walk.
Just what Texas wanted, to get that leadoff runner on, try to kind of change the momentum from last night's game, and exactly what Arkansas did not want to have happen. If you're Wes Johnson, the pitching coach for Arkansas, you want your young freshman to go out there and just fill it up the strike zone.
We'll see how sharp Milligan is after not pitching for 2 weeks. In his 2-inning stint against Dayton back on March the 1st, he did walk a man, no runs, but he struck out 4. Here's David Hamilton, the shortstop. And that pitch misses, says our plate umpire this afternoon, Tony Walsh. Hamilton, one of the many Texas natives, of course, on this Longhorn squad that lost 11 players to the draft last year. Hamilton takes one inside, so right now Milligan just trying to recalibrate and find the strike zone. So a walk to Hibbler to start the game. Hamilton has a count of 2-0. Hamilton shows bunt. There's the strike. Texas has the team hitting .266 with 14 home runs. But this year, pitching has been the problem. Their ERA very high for a pitcher-friendly ballpark. So offensively, maybe a few more weapons than years past, but they've had to, Troy, and that's why their record currently is at 9-8.
Yeah, that when your pitching kind of struggles and your ERA is north of 5, it makes it tough.
Looks like a balk was called. Hibbler was off and running. Cook didn't offer a throw, and Milligan apparently rolled through that stop.
let's see if he doesn't pause right here. Yeah, it's a pretty quick stop, and looked like first base umpire Daryl Arnold was the one who made that call.
We saw a similar play last night when Heston Kerstead was at the plate. It looked like he grounded out to third, and it was similar. It was a high set where there was a little bit of movement, not necessarily just a continuous movement, but something obviously the umpires picked up. So Hibbler in scoring position. Jack Spigger is trying to cut in behind him to keep him close. And Milligan just doesn't look comfortable early.
Yeah, it's all about release point, and looks like he's a little inconsistent.
Corner is Ian, expecting Hamilton to bunt. He's not going to show bunt here, and Milligan misses low. So Cook is going to pay his second mound visit in the matter of the last pitch. A balk and a pitch, and he's been out there twice.
I would be really shocked if, I think what happened on that was they got crossed up on signs, because Milligan's having trouble throwing the pitch over, and on 2-1, I don't think he would normally go breaking ball right there.
Sometimes when you see a catcher sprint out to the mound, you know something went haywire. Two good hitters to follow in Clemens and Zubia, so Milligan could use it out. And the 3-1 pitch. That's ball 4. So somewhat reminiscent back on Sunday when Bryce Bonnin walked the first two batters of the game. Wes Johnson paid a mound visit, did all of the talking, and Bonnin was able to escape with only 1 run scoring. But right now Milligan working himself into a threat.
And that's going to bring out Wes Johnson. And Arkansas already has Caleb Bolden down in the bullpen warming, and he's not just lightly tossing, he's throwing. So again, they want to see if they can't calm down Hunter Milligan, and if not, they're going to go to the right-hander in the bullpen, Caleb Bolden.
Wes's conversation on Sunday was very one-sided and forthright, and I would imagine the conversation here is about throwing strikes and getting back on track. Because these midweek games, we could talk about all we want with SEC play coming up. But even Charlotte had a big win yesterday, and you know, you don't want to give games away even if you're able to win series on the weekend.
I agree, and that's one of the reasons why Dave Van Horn threw Casey Murphy yesterday. He told him before the season started, he said, hey, I've already looked at the schedule. You're going to be all over the place. You might be pitching on a midweek game because of the quality of opponent, and Arkansas definitely has a quality opponent here in Texas today.
There you see the activity going in the bullpen. These teams had not met before last night, going back to 2012 when they played at Minute Maid Park in Houston. So the fact the last time Texas was in Fayetteville was 1991. They weren't even playing here at Baum Stadium. It didn't exist. As Cody Clemens steps in, he bunts third base side. This is a good one. Charging and throwing to first base. Good play by Martin to just get Clemens on a well-executed sacrifice.
Man, what soft touch by Cody Clemens right there. Just dropped down a picture-perfect bunt. I don't think you could have done it any better if you caught it with a glove and rolled it out there with your hand. Just picture-perfect. Watch this location here. Martin with great speed and a strong arm barely gets him at first base, but great execution.
That's a tough angle on that throw. So Zach Zubia, the DH, steps in. This is a big-time power threat. There is some swing and miss in this bat. But he hit his 4th home run of the year last year, an opposite field shot. Lifting one back and out of play.
I think that's where Arkansas is going to want to pitch Zubia, is in on the hands, because just like you said in last night's game, he's a big, strong kid. He got his arms extended and hit one about 3/4 the way up the scoreboard out in right center. Had a little bit of assist from the wind, but that ball was going to be out even if it was about a 20-mile-an-hour wind blowing straight in.
Yeah, big man, 6'4", 240 out of Richmond, Texas, and Strake Jesuit High School. Cook with a nice block. Cook right now trying to get that man, Hunter Milligan, through this first inning and limit the damage with 2 Longhorns already in scoring position. Zubia last summer played in the Northwoods League. Wisconsin, Minnesota hit 22 home runs. That's the type of power he had. He set all kinds of records with those long balls. He could put 3 on the board with one big swing, but that's one big curve from Milligan for a strike.
That's the best pitch Hunter Milligan's thrown so far in this early in this ball game. You see him get on top of this curveball, great downward action, and we just kind of froze Zubia in his tracks.
Two walks and a sacrifice to start this game. See the runners in scoring position, and Milligan very deliberate with runners on. And another foul ball. That one got a piece of Cook.
Milligan with the straight change there. He's definitely going off speed to Zubia.
Grant Cook has to be such a valuable resource for these young pitchers, but at times he must feel almost like a big brother, like a father figure in some senses, just trying to walk these guys in and out of trouble.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There's a lot to be said for an experienced upperclassman as a catcher. Grant Cook, probably one of the handful of catchers in the country that call their own pitches.
See if he can put down something that results in strike 3 for Hunter Milligan. And Zubia, a good job of spoiling pitches to stay alive. Big crowd last night with more than 8,000 here despite cooler conditions in the game on national television, but fans were excited to see Texas come to town for the first time since 1991, and a crowd that we will see increase as this day progresses. How could you not come out to the ballpark on a beautiful afternoon?
It's perfect. Got to play a little hooky from work or school or whatever.
Zubia rolls one slowly to Biggers. He will charge and scoop and throw out Zubia. But Hibbler scores, and the Longhorns on the board first.
That little small ball by Texas, and that's just a good piece of hitting by Zubia just to make contact. Not a bad pitch by Milligan, and see it induced a soft ground out. But again, execution by the Longhorns. If Arkansas can get out of this inning with just one run allowed, I think they're going to be pretty happy.
Here's Austin Todd. Todd out of Round Rock in the Austin area. Had a couple of base hits yesterday. 2 of the 9 for the Texas Longhorns. That one way outside. It's going to go to the screen. It's going to score the second run of the game. 2 runs without a hit, and that's what walks will do, and Milligan put himself in a hole right out of the gates.
Yeah, just one of those balls that just gets completely away from you. See, no chance for Grant Cook, and the run scores easily. But you're right, the 2 walks have led to 2 runs. They're just like turnovers in football. They just come back to haunt you.
Todd takes a strike well placed at 89 over that inside corner. Todd trying to get on track. That 1 home run was a game winner, a walk-off against Louisiana. It's sub 200. He's ahead in the count, 2 balls and a strike.
And what's strange is that on the scouting report, says he's one of the better hitters on the team. So probably almost like a little bit like a Dominic Fletcher, struggling here early.
Fletcher pursues in center, still backing up. He'll flip that one up on the hill, but the Texas Longhorns get 2 runs without a hit, and already the Razorbacks have some catching up to do. Fans out in the hog pen up on the hill in left center today. The Razorbacks trailing Texas 2-0 as we go to the bottom of the first inning. Here's Dave Van Horn's starting lineup today. Jax Biggers back in that lead-up spot after he was bumped down in the lineup last night. Then it's Cole, Kerstad, McFarland hitting cleanup. Fletcher, Martin, and Evan Lee is the DH rather than Bonfield. Cook catching. Hunter Wilson gets the start at second base. And they'll be facing Texas right-hander Nico O'Donnell.
Yeah, O'Donnell's going to be in that upper 80s, maybe touching 90 with that fastball. His last game, he lost the command of his fastball, so let's see if he can't find it here today. He throws a sweeping breaking ball, and he's working on that straight change.
The sweeping breaking ball was what allowed him to compete, being able to pitch behind in the count of times. And really, that's something these Texas pitchers have had to fight over the entire season, pitching from behind, and that's not a recipe for success, especially against a home run hitting team in the Arkansas Razorbacks, but he does have a 2-run lead with which to work. Another one of the freshmen on this team out of Churchill High School in San Antonio. And Nico O'Donnell about ready to go to work. Team earned run average for the Texas Longhorns does not look right at 5.11. Again, a pitcher-friendly ballpark at Dish Falk in Austin. So 17 games deep into a season to see an ERA in excess of 5. Not very Longhorn-like. Here's Biggers hitting .296 with 4 RBIs. Jacks had a couple of base hits yesterday in the 13-hit and 13-run attack for Arkansas. One thing about O'Donnell, you'll see he will work from the stretch the entire time. Even as a starter, nobody on base, works from the stretch. And I guess that just simplifies things.
Yeah, you see a lot of guys do that. I saw yesterday for Arkansas, Jacob Kostychak came out of the bullpen, did this exact same thing.
Big leg kick. Chop it to short. Hamilton's had some throwing problems with his shoulder and impingement, and he kind of catapulted that ball over to first base.
Yeah, you can tell there's a lot of discomfort in that shoulder. You can see him swinging it right there, and just kind of like it's just not working right. You can see it's very accurate with that throw, but he has to get to the baseball a little quicker and get rid of it a little faster because he can't put much on it.
The ball will find you even from the first batter of the game.
Definitely.
Here's Eric Cole. Cole did last night what we have seen him do all year. Just barreled up baseballs. 2 doubles, 3 hits, 3 more RBIs. And Troy, he took a swing in the first inning on Sunday against Kent State where it looked like maybe he tweaked his back, and it had us concerned.
Yeah, I think he felt just a little twinge. He had to sit out the fall with a back injury, and I talked to him before the ball game, and he said it just kind of scared him a little bit. And I think he was just a little cautious after that. I don't think it was as much pain; it was just fear. And so, like, the next couple swings were pretty tentative, and then we saw him get a hit in that same game, and just kind of, I think, it got out of his mind.
And last night, right back on track with the 3 base hits, and that average at .390 now is the second best in the starting lineup today to only Casey Martin, the freshman third baseman. O'Donnell corks one to the screen. Take a look at the Texas defense. We mentioned Hamilton at short, and you see Cody Clemens back at third base today. Hibbeler at second. Reynolds, the son of Shane Reynolds, at first. Cameron Fields, we'll talk more about him later on. A good runner in left. Ellis in center. Todd in right. And Petrinsky behind the plate. Longhorns have 2 different catchers, one more offensive-minded, one more defensive-minded. Petrinsky hits 2 home runs last night. I'll give you a guess which one of those 2 he would be.
I guess so, yeah. The guy that swings the bat a little bit. It's amazing when you hit how you can get yourself in the lineup. Just ask Jordan McFarland.
When you hit, you do not sit. Then again, the Longhorns had 2 runs without a hit in the top of the first inning. 2 balls and 2 strikes to the switch hitter Cole.
You mentioned earlier, Brett, about the Texas ERA, and yeah, you're right, it's north of 5, but O'Donnell here, he's got a pretty respectable one. Now it's started this ball game at 2.13, so yeah, anytime you're under 3, that's pretty salty, so he's the exception to the rule for the Longhorns.
In now 13 innings of work this season, count has gone full. Opposing hitters only batting .167 against Nico O'Donnell. Here's a payoff. A strikeout to Cole, and there's 2 quick outs. Coming into today's game, here's how these teams stack up. You see Arkansas almost doubling up the Longhorns in home runs. But the ERA is the number again that stands out.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, almost even with strikeouts. So they're a pitching staff that does get a lot of swing and misses. We saw that with Eric Cole right there. And both teams fielding very respectively. Anything over 970 is very good in the fielding area.
Here's Heston Kjerstad, the Texas native. Got plunked again last night.
Is that 8?
He's up to 8.
8 times. That is crazy.
He's been hit by a pitch more than he's walked this season. As he takes a strike. But the big time numbers you see on his ledger, including those 16 runs batted in. While he has been red hot all season, Troy, there is something on fire around Fayetteville today, and the smoke has really just emanated throughout Baum Stadium. You can smell it, you can feel it.
Feels like somebody's getting ready to have a bonfire, like cook some hot dogs outside the stadium. But yeah, you can kind of, there's like a cloud that keeps blowing in on the field.
Kjerstad sawed off on that one. Only thing spoiling a beautiful afternoon, but that smoke keeps wafting into the stadium.
Makes it feel like fall, doesn't it? Cook some s'mores.
Bounce out to short and a strikeout here in the bottom of the first inning. And another strikeout. So a good first inning all the way around for the Longhorns. They get 2 runs, and then Nico O'Donnell carves up the Hogs as we go to the second here in Fayetteville. We go to the second, 2-0 Longhorns, and let's introduce you to the third member of our crew, Haley Maxwell.
Well, Arkansas got it going yesterday due to a couple of costly errors from Texas. Now, Arkansas first baseman Jordan McFarland was actually on base when this was happening. Carson Shaddy singles through the left, and Jordan McFarland advances to third. He said when he got to third, he turned around to look back at second and sees that ball get way overthrown, so he takes off for home. Then he laughs and says, "I barely had any legs left with me. I knew I had to take a big dive at the end." Dives in, gets his fingertips only across home plate. He says he's jammed his fingers running into the catcher's shin guards, but he said it was worth it. Gratefully, he got that run, and then Arkansas got a total of 7 runs for that inning, really sealing the deal from the beginning for the Hogs.
It did early, and you're right, with those 7 runs, and the runs became earned with the hits that followed, but that was a wild play that did not please David Pierce. But it was funny to watch McFarland go into the plate and just stop as his hands could not go any further. What wasn't funny, though, was the first inning. Milligan kind of fought his control, and already a pitching change as we go to the second.
Yeah, Arkansas is going to go to the right-hander, Caleb Bolden, and you know, that's just a tough break for Milligan. He just couldn't find the strike zone. Sometimes what you do in the bullpen before a game doesn't correlate or translate out to the field, and you saw he's real inconsistent at release point, the ball that threw to the backstop, and again, Arkansas is going to try to stop the bleeding here with Caleb Bolden.
Here's Ryan Reynolds, the first baseman. First pitch swinging, and he sends one dangerously into the crowd down the right field side into the shadows. Reynolds out of Sugar Land, and he is the son of former big league pitcher Shane Reynolds, who spent 13 years getting outs in the major leagues. Good pitch from Caleb Bolden.
Bolden was a 16-round draft pick by the Tampa Bay Rays a season ago, but decided to come to Arkansas, and a big breaking ball right there. You can see why the scouts liked him so much, and that was a big get for Dave Van Horn and Wes Johnson to get him to campus. You can see with 2 strikes, that's just a little bit of hump in that slider. Just no chance for Reynolds to get a piece of that one.
We saw Bolden make a start in the Dayton game in which the Hogs won 18-1. He went 6 scoreless innings. More impressive, though, he didn't issue a single walk to go along with his 6 strikeouts. Here's Petrinsky coming off a 2-homer game and a big chopper. Martin has to leap up high to grab it. He has to bounce it to first, and McFarland the scoop for the second out.
Yeah, really athletic play by Casey Martin, and you see where this ball bounces. He makes an athletic play just to get to that baseball, but then he can't square his shoulders up. And the long hop is so much easier for a first baseman to field than that short hop. And sometimes as an infielder, if you know you can't get it there, you always saw Derek Jeter used to do that. Get that long hop and make it an easy scoop for that first baseman.
And McFarland able to help out Martin and Bolden. So 2 quick outs. Here's Duke Ellis, the center fielder. 90-mile-an-hour fastball out of the hands of Bolden. So many Texas natives on this Arkansas team, including Bolden from Texarkana, going up against this home state school. Ellis fouls one back to the screen. It's 2-1. Couple of walks led to 2 runs without a hit in the top of the first for Texas. Good pitch over the inside corner to Duke Ellis.
It's one of the things I like about Caleb Bolden. A lot of times you see freshmen a little more tentative to pitch inside to opponents, and he goes right in on that inside corner, own the whole zone on the mound.
Swing and a foul back to the screen.
Went back to the same pitch, got right in there on the hands. Ellis just did a good job of spoiling that fastball.
Ellis, the son of Robert Ellis, who played in the major leagues. In fact, a member of the 2001 world champion Arizona Diamondbacks team. And yes, I was there for games 6 and 7 in Phoenix.
Nice.
And in fact, one of the guys who pitched in game 7 is here today too, in Mr. Roger Clemens. Game 7 featured Roger Clemens, Mariano Rivera, Kurt Schilling, and Randy Johnson. How does that
That's not
strike?
too bad.
Count has gone full to Ellis. A little bit of trivia, whether you wanted it or not. See if Bolden can have a perfect inning. And he misses to Ellis to put him on base.
Well, Brad, I'm going to give that one to you. You said he had no walks in his last start against Dayton. So you jinxed him.
Well, he had a couple of foul balls in the sequence, couldn't win the verdict, so now he'll face the number 9 hitter, Cameron Fields. And this is a guy I've been kind of curious to see. Fields is 0 for 5 this year getting the start. He was a highly recruited high school quarterback, and really the only school that didn't want him to play 2 sports was Texas. So he chose the baseball route, but he has tremendous speed, and he won't get a chance to exhibit it here. The comebacker, he's retired. And it was Bolden quarterbacking this inning, working around a walk. It's 2-0 Texas.
Well, let's take a look and see what Texas needs to do for a victory. Eliminate the miscues of yesterday. They had 5 walks in the first 3 innings on the mound, and then they had those 2 errors in that 1 play in the 3rd inning and really kind of broke it open for the Hogs. And they need to avoid the crooked numbers on the mound. Arkansas scored 7, 4, and 2 runs last night. So again, they need to keep Arkansas down to, if they're going to score just single digits or single runs.
It's amazing how many times in baseball, Troy, where 1 inning a team will score more runs than the opposition scores in a game.
Right. It just kind of all falls apart on you.
And it was a perfect example when McFarland was involved with a 3-run double, part of a 7-run 3rd inning. And the Longhorns mustered just 4 runs in the game. But here's a guy who's made the most out of his recent opportunities ever since Gates tweaked a hammy on an extension play at first base.
Yeah, it was a double play line drive at Biggers, and he made a throw to first base and had to be quick with it, and he kind of pulled Gates off the bag, and as he was stretching, tried to make sure that he kept the foot on the bag, which he didn't. They got the double play, but again, kind of strained that hamstring, and so he's out, just kind of nursing that back to health. And McFarland is jumping all over this opportunity and very sure-handed at first base as well.
Big chopper towards Hibbler at second. Easy play, and 4 up, 4 down. Courtesy of Nico O'Donnell and the Texas Longhorns.
Well, Arkansas is looking for Dominic Fletcher, who's coming up to the plate to break out. He's a guy that was a freshman All-American a season ago, had an amazing year at double-figure home runs. believe he hit 12 as a freshman. And they want that stroke to come back. He's been a little bit jumpy, kind of getting that weight out on the front foot, being a little over aggressive as he's taking his approach to the baseball.
And Fletcher hitting 186. Let's take a look at your 2 cents for the Hawks.
Well, Arkansas needs to keep up that solid defense. They had 3 double plays and no errors in yesterday's victory. There we go. And then they need to keep throwing strikes on the mound. We saw that hurt him already early.
Yeah, you're a little late on that
one. Little bit late. Yeah, Casey Murphy didn't walk anybody. Jacob Kasiashak only had 2 walks, and we see what those 2 walks already did. That attributed to 2 runs already.
Swinging 2-0. Fletcher bounces one to Reynolds at first.
I think they're just trying to give Fletcher a count that he feels really comfortable in, and you can tell when you're chopping a ground ball to first base on 2-0, that's a ball that you need to be lifting and driving. Your timing is just off.
So good start for Nico O'Donnell, the freshman from San Antonio. Sported 2 runs in the top of the first. He's retired every hog that he's faced, and here is Casey Martin hitting an even 400 with 5 home runs. And Troy, here was a guy that I think Arkansas realized he had a lot of potential. He has an electric bat, but he's just not a big guy, but he generates some pop.
Yeah, he really does. He probably only goes about 5'11", maybe 175 pounds, but again, just really compact, and it's already hit 5 home runs on the season.
Including 1 off the pole yesterday. Sends one to left field. It's hit well. He's got number 6 off the back of the bullpen. Casey Martin stays red hot with his long ball stroke.
Off the bat, it looked like Martin was almost a little out in front with that contact, but you can tell he generates a lot of bat speed, and that's what you get. You get the hog hat when you hit a home run here in Fayetteville. Let's think, look where he hit that ball. Well out in front, great extension, and that ball just carried. We're getting a little bit of help from the wind. It's not too breezy, but it's blowing from the right field foul pole to the left field foul pole, so maybe a few feet on that fly ball, but that was hit very well.
Troy, you're right at contact. He almost one-handed that swing.
He hit it well out in front of home plate, because that was actually on the outside corner. He pulled it.
Here's Evan Lee. He's DHing for Bonfield today. Evan Lee was outstanding, being the winning pitcher on Sunday, throwing 4 1/3 innings. Replacing Bonfield, all Luke has done is reach base in every game he's played this year, all 16. But while he was out running the bases today, he took a line drive off his back.
Yeah, I'm sure that had something to do with it. Also, giving Evan Lee an opportunity and also getting another left-handed bat in there against O'Donnell.
It seems like the Hogs have seen so many left-handed pitchers. It's been easy to keep Bonfield in that cleanup spot and in the DH position, but Evan Lee getting the start, and there's Luke. Have a feeling we could see him at some point, though, later on in this game. 3-0 pitch in there for a strike to Lee.
It's just amazing what a team with power can do. We saw Texas come back and hit 3 home runs last night, but Arkansas, who led the SEC last year with 83 home runs, that's a pitch that Arkansas faithful don't think that was a very good call. Tony Walsh called that one down in the strike zone, but see where this pitch was. Evan Lee didn't agree. We'll have to catch it after this pitch.
Here's a payoff. That's fair inside the left field line, so Lee would rather have extra bases. And he will head into second with a double. You'd rather get that double than a walk any day of the week.
Oh, sure. Really good inside-out swing by Lee. Not a bad pitch by O'Donnell. Just a better job of hitting. Just inside out right down the third base line. No play for Clemens. Great hustle by Fields. He gets to this ball in a hurry and makes his play fairly close at second base. I mean, when that ball's hit down the line, you almost feel like you can just coast in for a double. Lee had to hustle the whole time, and right as soon as he would start sliding, that ball was coming in.
Here's Grant Cook.
looks like Texas so far. Grant Cook is a guy that likes to stay well off the plate. You see where he stands in the box. He's really likes to get those arms extended, stands far away from home plate, and opponents have really been working him on that outside corner with breaking balls.
You were saying?
Yeah. Got the scouting report. That is the MO so far for Grant Cook. I tell you, when you get the accolades like an All-American, they're gonna treat you a little bit differently. They're gonna come at you soft and want to keep that ball away.
Rolled to third. Clemens will scoop and throw out Cook to end the inning. Hogs get a run on a couple of base hits. The Casey Martin home run cut this deficit in half. We played a couple of innings. It's still the Longhorns 2-1, but Casey Martin remains red hot with the big flies. It's 2-1 Texas. Let's check in with Haley, who's standing by with Texas head coach David Pierce.
What was focus for this game compared to yesterday's?
Well, actually, it's just trying to get back into playing good baseball, good, clean baseball. We really were pretty sloppy yesterday, so just try to play one pitch at a time, be clean.
Offensively, so far, an aggressive approach. What have you seen from your team?
Well, I thought we were really selective against the left-hander in the first, and so we were able to capitalize on a couple of runs there by mistake. But we just got to get a good pitch and be ready to hit.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
David Pierce has had a lot of success. He came to Texas from Tulane. He started at Sam Houston State. Houston graduate. He's been at Rice, but all 6 years he's been a head coach. He's been in the NCAA tournament, and this may be a challenge this year, Troy, depending on how things go for the Longhorns, if he can make it 7 straight. But if he can do that, he will be building on quite a resume.
Yeah, he really will, and I think he's the right man for the job. Texas has got a storied history, and you know that there's so much talent in the state of Texas. Obviously, Arkansas goes down there for baseball and gets some great talent. You always see that so far this season, but you know they're going to be back and be good.
Here's Mason Hibbler. Started the game by walking and scoring. He'll take a strike facing Caleb Bolden for the first time. That one slipped out of the hands of Bolden. See how long Caleb might be able to go in this game. Of course, a lot of that determines or is the result of his effectiveness as he pumps in strike 2.
Well, so far in those 15 pitches he's thrown, 10 strikes, only 5 balls. So that's what you want out of a reliever that's coming into the ball game, especially after the first inning. The starting pitcher walked 2.
Breaking ball kind of rolled in there, and it's hit out into right center field, where Fletcher's waiting patiently for that to come down from the sun and the smoke. He makes the catch for the first down. He made a great catch in right center that we showcased in our open today last night.
Yeah, just an outfielder that gets tremendous breaks on the ball. That's the thing when you see outfielders that cover a lot of ground and really kind of make up for balls that should be hits. That first step is so key, going in the right direction. And Fletcher does it as well as anyone in the country.
Here's the shortstop Hamilton. Good pitch right at the knees for a strike. Hamilton out of San Marcos, where Texas State is located. He is a threat to run, great speed, so someone Bolden wants to keep off the bases. A chopper, and Shaddy's going to have to hurry. Scoops, flips, what a play by Carson Shaddy. By Wilson, I beg your pardon. Filling in for Shaddy today, Hunter Wilson had a hard time getting much on that flip, but he got the speedy runner.
Yeah, Hunter Wilson was a shortstop originally. They moved him to second base, and just tremendous athletic play. You saw the runner just scooting down the line in Hamilton. That's the only way you can make that play. Outstanding by Hunter Wilson.
So Hunter getting the start at second base and pulling off a beautiful play for the second out of the inning. Cody Clemens steps in. High breaking ball called a strike. Cody started this season with a 13-game hitting streak. Great start to his campaign. You see his numbers with a sac bunt back in the first. Saw a lot of Cody in the high school ranks and even through perfect game as he was coming up in the Houston area. And of course, his father, Roger Clemens, and I had a chance to visit with Roger yesterday, who's here, and I said, he's grown. He's grown since high school, and not just in size as far as weight, but as far as his height.
Yeah, that's a huge plus for college players that get that late spurt.
And he just looks at strike three as Bolden paints to end the inning.
Yeah, great job by Caleb Bolden, just kind of coming in and setting the tone on the mound for the Hogs and giving them a chance. They're down 2-1.
Long-time college baseball coach, former Longhorns head coach Augie Garrido has been hospitalized after a serious medical situation, and certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to Augie. And those numbers, Troy, certainly speak for themselves, the success he had in his long career.
Yeah, it's an amazing career, and you know that the Longhorn faithful, like you said, have him in their thoughts and prayers, and you just hope that he can kind of battle back through that.
One of the most fascinating people you would ever have a chance to visit with if you were so lucky as Wilson steps in. He could talk on any number of topics. Very gracious with his time to the media members as he understood, I think, the importance of generating popularity for this sport throughout his lengthy time frame. As Wilson steps in, he drives one to left field, but Fields in left will make the catch for the first out. And a final thought on Garrido and a final thought on Roger Clemens. He said when he had a chance to play at Texas, he played for the winningest coach in Cliff Gustafson. And then his kids, Cody and Casey, had a chance to play for the winningest coach of all time in Augie Garrido.
Yeah,
what a rare symmetry that is.
That really is. That's an amazing thing, and you know that people think about those kind of things of who you're going to go play for and what their knowledge is, and so that is a really cool fact.
So all our best to Augie Garrido. Jax Biggers bounced to short his only time in. Texas doesn't have a hit, but they lead 2-1. Biggers takes a strike, and it's 2 balls and a strike. O'Donnell, arms and legs. The high sock look and the sleeves today, and he nearly grazed the jersey of Biggers. A lot of burnt orange coming at you down off that hill.
Yeah, it really is. See what Biggers does right here, if he's going to decide to cut loose or be a little more patient at the plate and try to generate a base runner for the Hogs.
He's up there hacking. "16 hits on the season for Jax. A little bit unusual last night to see him batting 7th in the lineup. At least this season, back in the leadoff spot today, waiting on a payoff pitch. Tomahawks what would have been ball 4 into the seats that have filled up since we started less than an hour ago.
Almost looked like the hit and run play that Jax had. Grant Cook's on first base yesterday, started Cook. At the same height and same angle, he hits it right where the shortstop's playing. Just a picture perfect hit and run.
Well done, to say the least. He's battling here with 1 out in the 3rd inning. And Jack's content to take the walk, his 12th of the season. First time the Hogs have had a free base runner in the game. So O'Donnell, who works from the stretch regardless, will continue with the base runner. And Eric Cole steps in. Cole has more hits than anybody else on this team with 23.
And the wide strike by Tony Walsh. Eric Cole's trying to think, I need a boat paddle to hit that thing. That's about 6 inches outside.
Another strike on that outside corner. It's 0-2. So O'Donnell has gone to work after the walk to Biggers. Cole taking his time adjusting those batting gloves. He's not enamored with those 2 strike calls.
If I'm O'Donnell, I'm just going to keep going outside.
Yeah, why not?
A little bit farther.
I'm with you.
See if you get the call, you're probably going to get the swing.
And the curve sweeps in for strike 3. And we mentioned that sweeper in our scouting report, and he showed it off a couple of times. Once to Kerstad and there to Cole.
Yeah, it just froze Eric Cole. That's just a beautiful curveball. Starts on the outside corner, and you give up on it as a hitter. You think it's high. And then just with the spin and the lack of velocity, a little gravity working in there, and just drops right into the zone.
At what point as a hitter do you realize you've been had? I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
That comes out. That looks so high that your mind is telling you that it's going to be out of the zone.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So about halfway there, you've already given up on it, and you're thinking, okay, that's high. And then when it gets about 2/3 of the way there, you're like, I'm done. You can't pull the trigger. You just have to watch it. It's not a good feeling.
Yeah, I got to believe there's some helplessness in that. 3 strikeouts for O'Donnell, and 2 of those have been the red-hot Eric Cole. And the other has been Heston Kerstad, the best hitters in this Hogs lineup. Casey Martin's probably saying, don't forget about me. Of course, he had the solo home run for the Arkansas tally.
Well, you've seen how O'Donnell's worked those lefties. He's going that fastball away. He's got good tail on that fastball, and he's getting that outside corner.
Kerstad sends one to the right side. Cut off out there by Hibler. And his throw is late to mini collusion. Biggers is going to try to go to third, where he is going to be out. So Kerstad will get the infield base hit, but after the collision, Biggers a daring play to go to third, and the inning ends.
Just a crazy play right there. Great play by the first baseman, Reynolds, to throw a strike and cut down Jack Biggers.
Through 3 innings, Texas Longhorns have a 2-1 advantage. Arkansas replaced their starter, Hunter Milligan, after the first, and he gave up 2 runs on no hits and 2 walks, and Caleb Bolden has settled things down since.
Yeah, he's been lights out so far as he's coming out of the pen, and the biggest thing is his strike-to-ball ratio. He's going there filling up the strike zone and kind of pitching to contact, a couple Ks, but again, doing a really good job.
Big cleanup hitter Zach Zubia steps in. Hit a slow roller to short, but he got an RBI in the first. Started the scoring. Lifting one in the air. Wilson gliding, drifting, running, and bobbling, but catching. A little bit of everything on that play.
I think I touched every part of the inside of the glove of Hunter Wilson. You can see him laughing right there going, that thing, watch how far he has to go to get this baseball. It's kind of in the Bermuda Triangle. Cole can't quite get there, but it bounces all around that glove. And Wilson with a couple outstanding defensive plays. You saw the one that he got earlier in the ball game at that slow chopper, and then he's still just laughing.
Yeah, it was rolling around in there.
It's like a pinball machine inside my glove.
Here's Austin Todd, the right fielder. Todd showed bunt. Downstairs and it's 2-0. Todd hit .276 last year, played a lot of games for the Longhorn team. They had a chance to win their regional, lost a couple of games out west to fail to advance to a super. That one's trouble. towards the gap in right center field. Fletcher able to cut it off before it gets to the fence. He's got a great arm. Here's the throw towards second base. Close but safe as Todd gets the double.
Yeah, just perfect placement right there by Todd. We talked about one of the better hitters on the team. He's really been scuffling so far early on the season, but gets the ball out over the plate by Bolden. Great hustle by Fletcher to cut this baseball off and give himself a chance. That throws just a little bit off. I think Todd beats it anyway.
Todd hustling out of the box with the double. That is the first Texas hit of the game, and it comes here in the 4th inning. He'll put the oven mitt on, and Ryan Reynolds steps in. He was the first batter that Bolden faced when he led off the 2nd inning. So the network was here last night with Tom Hart and Kyle Peterson doing the game, and our chance to step in for game 2. So you got to sit in the stands, and I know your heart gets racing a little bit faster anytime you see that burnt orange of Texas from the old Southwest Conference days.
Yeah, a little flashback, and yeah, it was some great memories of the rival Texas. It's one of those teams that you just like anybody in any rival, you don't like them, you dislike them, but you also respect them as a team because you know they've got quality players. And I'll tell you, after this pitch, one thing about the Texas fans that I did have to tip my hat at. One thing, we went to the College World Series and played them, and they were the fans that they would cheer against you, but as soon as you weren't playing their team, they were all in for another conference team. And I remember they were some of our loudest fans when we were there in Omaha, the 2 years I was there in 87 and 89. And I even remember when we got eliminated in 87, their fans came out with our fans to the bus and cheered as we drove off.
That's
I thought
cool.
that was pretty classy.
Yes, indeed. Some of their fans have traveled as well. 2 strikes to count on Reynolds. Soft pop-up, see if McFarland will have a play, and he's over near the railing, but it's off the screen above the dugout. Bill Little worked for the baseball team for a number of years, SID and radio and such, and I think at one time he calculated the number of months in his life that he spent in Omaha. You know, when you work for a program like that for 30, 40 years, you start to add it up, and it's like 3 years of your life you spent in Omaha, Nebraska.
Well, that time of the year, that's a pretty great place to be. I'll tell you, that town does an amazing job of hosting teams, and it's just a tremendous atmosphere.
We're a few years, and I grew up not far from Omaha as you did, Troy, but I thought maybe it might go to, say, Indianapolis, where the NCAA is located, with that beautiful AAA ballpark. As Bolden just misses. But when Rosenblatt was renovated and they expanded the stadium, it became not only the destination for college baseball, but it will be there for a long time to come.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, you're right. TD Ameritrade Park is something else, and 23,000, 24,000 fans will pack that place, game in, game out during the College World Series.
Bolden wanted that strikeout. He's going to get it here. You might not get the first borderline, but you better be ready to swing on the second one, and Reynolds down looking.
That's called painting the black right there. Caleb Bolden, the little masterpiece. And great job by Grant Cook. Watch how quiet Cook is in receiving that baseball. We've talked about it several times on multiple broadcasts, but you see guys that are junior catchers and upperclassmen, they just receive the baseball at a whole different level. And it's definitely an art form. You see guys in the big leagues do it all the time, and they'll earn their pitchers a couple extra strikes here and there.
And you'll earn yourself a lot of money, because catchers like that in today's day and age in the analytical era will stick around. As Petrinsky bounced to third his only time in, the Texas catcher. Cook sets up over that outside corner. Too far outside. And even that last one, that strike 3 to Reynolds, he didn't move it a lot. He just brought it back maybe a half inch or an inch.
Yeah. It's all about subtle movements. You don't want any jerks. You want to grab it and kind of pull it back in the zone.
Bolden trying to work around a double from Todd, who stands out there at second base. It's missed on the first 2 to Petrinsky. And this is a guy who yesterday came into the game hitting .212 with no home runs. All of a sudden you hit 2 home runs and the scouting report might change.
Yeah. It's like respect the power is another thing added on the end of that scouting report. First base is open, so you wonder if Bolden's going to take that into consideration. Say, you know what, I might just keep going breaking ball away.
We'll find out on what he wants to throw here. Paints for a strike. Bolden in his 3rd inning of relief after Milligan went 1 inning. Not a lot of emotion on that young man's face as he works with Grant Cook. Now it's 3-1 with Duke Ellis waiting on deck.
You wonder if that's something that Bolden had throughout his career coming up, or if that's something that he's kind of picked up from some of the other upperclassmen. You think about guys like a Casey Murphy or even a Blaine Knight, that Isaiah Campbell, that don't show a lot of motion on the mound. They are very even keel, and you don't really know if things are going well or poorly for him. I think that's a sign that don't ever let the hitter know you're frustrated, and never get too high, never get too low.
Good swing there on 3-1, so the count's gone full. I think anymore, and I could be wrong, Troy, I think these freshmen, when they come in with the accolades, they have pitched in so much high-quality competition in the summer travel circuit, not necessarily just high school, but in these tournaments all around the country, that they aren't as wide-eyed as maybe they were 10, 15 years ago.
I totally agree. It's a big pitch in this ballgame right here for Bolden.
Sure is. His team trailing by a run in the 4th inning. Cook sets up outside, and here's the 3-2, and it wasn't close.
I was about ready to say a walk is not really that bad of a thing in that situation right there. First base is open. You have 2 outs. You got a really hot hitter in Petrinsky. Just don't groove one.
Texas coach David Pierce came out of the dugout and had a quick conversation in the on-deck circle with Duke Ellis before he stepped towards the plate. Ellis walked back in the 2nd inning. Double from Todd and a walk to Petrinsky, and Bolden is slowed down with runners on base this inning. Pitch at the belt for a strike.
Good speed on the bases for the Longhorns, so definitely a base hit to the outfield. It's probably going to score 1, something in the gap. We'll score 2.
Bolden gets the pop-up. Bigger starting to backpedal, still drifting back. And boy, I tell you, when the ball gets up in the winds, it's not easy in this stadium.
It's really not. Biggers just makes it look easy, though, and a big out for Caleb Bolden and the Hogs.
Take a look at the Longhorns season summary. See 7 losses to teams in the top 25. They fell out of the polls after they lost 3 of 4 games to Stanford. This is a very young team, still picked to do quite well in the Big 12.
Yeah, and you're right. They played Stanford already. They've also played another SEC foe of Arkansas, LSU. Won 1 of 3 in that weekend down there in Baton Rouge. And again, you got to give the Longhorns and David Pierce credit. They're going out there and scheduling some tough ball games early.
His team leading 2-1 as this game moves into the bottom of the 4th inning. Jordan McFarland, the cleanup hitter today after a big couple of games. Coming off a 4 RBI performance last night after he had 5 RBIs on 2 homers to round out the game on Sunday. He bounced out to Hibbler at second his only time in. Talk about that Stanford series, though, for Texas. They won the first game, and then they just weren't competitive in 3 in a row. They were outscored 33-13 in the 4-game set. Outscored 13-4 last night, but leading today.
Arkansas down a run. You're probably going to see Jordan McFarland take right here, even though the wind is blowing out to left with a little bit of assistance. They just want base runners at this point.
And that's a freebie. 4 pitches. Just the second walk issued by Nico O'Donnell.
So McFarland's not really a threat to steal, but for a first baseman, he runs fairly well. And you'll see Dave Van Horn sometimes bring McFarland in as a pinch runner, especially for whoever's playing first base, maybe a Jared Gates. There's a good look at Dave Van Horn in his 16th season here at Arkansas. One of the best in the business.
Got the shades on today.
Working the seeds.
Indeed. O'Donnell ready to issue his 50th pitch of the game as Fletcher steps in. Fletcher rolled out to first his only time in, and I think every time he gets a base hit or every time the game starts, you kind of wait to see that breakthrough, and I'm sure Dominic is thinking along those same lines. But Troy, he's 60 at bats into this season, so at what point do you start to press? Well, that'll help. Base hit right field. McFarland will turn easily, make it to third. The throw goes into second base. So Fletcher the base hit.
This is why you love to hit with runners on base.
You're right.
Because McFarland's on first with the walk. The first baseman is playing in at the bag to hold the runner on at first. If he's back and there's nobody on, that's an easy chopper, and that's an out. Ground ball out, and Fletcher is continuing to skid. Now, that's a base hit. He feels good about it. He hit the ball pretty hard. He kind of pounded in the ground just a little bit, but I tell you, it's amazing when guys get on in front of you, when defenses have to shift a little bit, how it just kind of changes the complexion of a ball game.
This man stepping into the box has done that a lot in the last 2 weeks. Casey Martin hit his team-leading 6th home run in the 2nd inning. Good pitch from O'Donnell. At the knees, outer corner of the plate.
Texas is in at the corners, back up the middle. They're going to concede the run to try to get a double play, and it's going to have to be hit really hard at somebody to double up Casey Martin.
Hogs would just like to get this game back to even after spotting the horns. 2 runs in the top of the first. Martin over anxious on that slow breaking ball.
Well, Martin's job right here is just to put the ball in play. You don't want the strike up or pop out.
Casey's driven in 19 on the season. You see all the signs coming through from Petrinsky. Chopper to third. Clemens, a long throw, and it's a wild one. Fletcher to third, and he's going to be held on a late stop sign by Nate Thompson, and Martin will have to hustle back to second. There will be an error on that throw, but I'm curious to see if Martin might also get a base hit. He'll get an RBI, and it's a 2-2 game.
Yeah, great play by Clemens to get to that baseball. Sometimes as a fielder, you have to look when you come up, you even have a shot at that runner. You also have to remember who's running. You know he rushed that throw just because it was Casey Martin. They had the scouting report on Martin. They know he can fly.
So a brand new game, and here's Evan Lee, who doubled his only time in. It looks like both a hit and an error. So I guess correctly, and Lee takes it back to a curve for a strike.
I think that's the right call.
I do too. So Martin now with 20 RBIs on the season. He's knocked in both of the Arkansas runs today. Lee, a little flare to left. This should drop. It will drop for a base hit. It's going to score a run, and here comes Martin. The throw is not in time, and Evan Lee has knocked in 2 more runs. And there's the speed of Martin in addition to the power we saw earlier.
Yeah, just a bloop job by Evan Lee. It looks like a rocket in the book, but and then another thing that happened is it had some funky spin on it. So Lee kind of inside outs that ball, a little jam job. But watch it hit the ground and kind of spin toward the line. That had the outfielder Fields taking a little extra time to get to that ball, and that allows Martin to score. But I don't know if it doesn't have that funky spin, if Martin scores on that play.
That's a good point, Troy.
Because it went away from Fields, and then he had to go down and get it. And that took about another second or so for him to get to that baseball.
David Pierce has already made the call to the bullpen. Nico O'Donnell will not get through the 4th inning. So the fans calling the Hogs out there on the hill in left field. And Arkansas has plated 3 runs, still nobody out this inning. Hogs have scored 3 runs here in the 4th inning, still nobody out. Casey Martin got the infield single and an RBI. Scored on a 2-run base hit from Evan Lee, and now Bryce Verplank summoned from the Texas bullpen.
Yeah, Verplank is a big kid. You see his size right there, 6'5", 225. Looks like he should be playing some tight end instead of being on the mound for the Horns. But again, a guy that loves to throw the slider. That is his out pitch, and you're going to see that almost 3/4 of the time he'll throw the slider over the fastball. But his fastball will run up there 90-91, and you'll see that slider being in the low 80s, about 82, 83.
If you're saying to yourself, that name sounds somewhat familiar, well, yes, he is related to the PGA golfer Scott Verplank. That's his uncle. He's an NCAA champion at Oklahoma State. He's been on the tour since 1986. His grandfather lettered in baseball at Texas. His father played golf at HBU. So whether they're swinging a stick or swinging a golf club, the family had a pretty rich history.
He's very athletic. So if I'm Grant Cook and you know he's got the scouting report, you really got to be sitting on something that's going to be over the plate in a way. Kind of think about shooting one in that gap in right center.
Clemens at third handled Cook's ground ball back in the 2nd inning. Stayed away from the fastball on the first pitch, and he gets the strike. Texas led 2-0 after a half inning, 4 unanswered for Arkansas. Cook finds himself down in the count, no balls, 2 strikes. With Lee at second, he advanced to second on that throw home from Fields in left. This is where Arkansas's depth has helped them out. When Gates tweaked his hammy the other day, McFarland stepped in and got a couple of the biggest hits in the game. With Bonfield not playing, today it's been Evan Lee contributing as the DH. Carson Shaddy not playing, and Wilson's made a couple of nice plays defensively at second base.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Dave Van Horn talked about his team, and he said, you know, if somebody does get hurt or somebody is struggling a little bit, he goes, we can make a change, and I like his terminology. He goes, we don't really have to explain ourselves, and not that he really has to anyway, but you know, it just makes sense. When you put somebody else in there, you're like, man, we didn't really miss a beat.
And of course, the art for Dave Van Horn or any coach is to find the right time to play the right guy, to give maybe a regular a break, or to bring somebody off the bench who doesn't have regular playing time and get a contribution. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Cook. I thought Tony La Russa was one of the best at doing that.
Yeah, just kind of had that magic touch of knowing who's hot, and that's why you always watch coaches that they pay tremendous attention to infield, outfield. They pay tremendous attention to batting practice as well.
It's the Hogs summary, not even through 4 innings today. They'd like to keep tacking on here in the 4th inning. Cook has taken the count as far as it'll go. First 4 Arkansas hitters have reached this inning. Walk, a single, an error, and another base hit. There was the breaking ball and another foul ball by Grant Cook.
Yeah, Cook's going to wish he had that one back
Yes.
again. That was up in his eyes, and he's a guy that likes the ball up in the zone. He was just a little out in front and kind of spun off that hanging slider.
No doubt about that thought sequence. Another 3-2, and the breaking ball's in the dirt. That's 5 straight Hogs that have reached this inning. Take you back to yesterday when Arkansas scored 7 runs in the 3rd inning, and it was just one thing after another. And David Pierce coming out of the bullpen, and this is going to be a one-batter situation for Verplank, and he's already calling for a lefty.
Yeah, that's pretty surprising, but again, Texas knows that they can't let this game get away from them.
Pitching change being made. We'll come back with the new Longhorn hurler in a 4-2 Razorback lead. David Pierce not afraid to go to the bullpen. He's going to bring on his 3rd pitcher of this inning. Still looking for the first out. He's pacing right now. Josh Sawyer is the pitcher. And Troy, this is a fun story. This kid's 23 years old. I believe there's some scouts here to see him. He went 659 days between pitching outings.
Wow.
3 different surgeries. He's had his shoulder, his elbow, and his hip all operated on. He was an Augie Garrido recruit, but still somebody who throws in the 90s, a good tall angle, and a wipeout breaking ball. But a tip of the hat to Josh Sawyer for going 659 days between appearances on the mound for the Texas Longhorns.
Man, that's just somebody that's incredibly committed, and it says a lot about his work ethic, just to be able to put that much into rehab to make it back on the hill.
Eric Cole still several batters away from getting up, but he's ready to go if called upon. Hogs have plated 4 runs this inning. There's Ellis in center. He went over for a meeting in left field with Fields. He just left his glove like the old days. Remember when they used to leave him out there? And
well, they used to share gloves.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like whoever had the glove would just leave it at the position, and the other guy would come out and use it.
As if maybe he forgot where he was standing. He just left his glove in straightaway center and went back to retrieve. Any doubt that Wilson's up here to bunt?
No, they're definitely going to have him bunt. He's a guy that handles the bat really well. Again, his job is to bunt the ball down the 3rd base line. If you're having the lead, you need to bounce off the base for that good secondary lead.
One thing is, the Texas 3rd basemen have had their hands full with some weird hops and bounces and some plays through a game and a half in this series. And it's Clemens over there today after Reynolds had a couple of balls that he just could not collect last night. Good bunt. This might end up being a base hit. This will not be a hit. Boy, it was close. Wilson can't believe it. He thought he was safe at first. Nice play by Sawyer.
Yeah, I thought Sawyer got him with a bang-bang play. Just my first gut was he was out. I don't know, what were you thinking?
I think you're right. I was surprised, though, because when it left his hands, I thought Wilson was going to beat it.
I did too, just with the placement and stuff. But when it was live, that was my gut instinct was he just got him. Got to remember he's left-handed. It's a pretty easy play for a left-handed pitcher. He put some good velocity in it. Tough to see with that shadow and get there late. Dave Van Horn's lobby in this case. That's Daryl Arnold, a longtime umpire. Van Horn's not going to win that one.
I tell you what, it was almost impossible to tell from that shot, but it sure looked like on that replay that Hunter Wilson may have been there. And we're going to get another look. This will be the best test, and
I think he's out.
but wow. I may almost have to back that one up and break it down. See if Errol Arnold got this one right. Can't see the ball there, but if it's in the glove, I don't know.
My gut was just saying that he was out.
I think you're right. I mean, Arkansas at best would hope for a tie in that situation. And as much as we all know that the tie goes to the runner, it doesn't, according to umpires. Here's Biggers. And there's the breaking ball for a strike with the infield in. I mean, that's the rule, but umpires, if it's a tie, they're gonna get their out.
Yeah, I think so, especially on the sacrifice.
But it does change this inning because now it's left on left, and Sawyer's going to pump some breaking balls at Biggers and try and get a K.
Well, Texas got the infield in. They're going to try to cut this run down at home. So if you're Evan Lee at third base, your job is to make sure that ball gets through the infield before you take off. Unless it's just like a sky-high chopper. Sometimes you'll see somebody just beat one in the ground and it goes 25 feet in the air. That's the play you run on.
We're entering that time of the day where it's not exactly hitter-friendly conditions with that sunshine-shadows contrast. That one nearly went through the legs of Biggers. Jack's looking over into the dugout. Slightly below average speed out there on the bases, but the infield in. The pitch is in, and the count's 3-1. 3 in a row out of the zone for Sawyer. He is the third pitcher used this inning. O'Donnell, the starter, couldn't get an out. Verplank faced one batter. And Sawyer got Wilson on that very close play at first base. Ball 4. Get out the beer hats. The bases are juiced.
I was really surprised they didn't go after Biggers with the slider right there. You've got first base open. The walk really doesn't hurt you because now you can set up the double play, but you also have to face Aaron Cole.
Where do those come from? It's like they're raining out of the sky, the hats.
It's like you come in and it's like, what's that duffel bag full of? They're full of beer mug hats. Okay, you can bring that into the stadium.
Be a lot more fun if Eric Cole got into one here. He struck out both times in. He might be happy to be seeing a different pitcher. He'll bat right-handed here, and there's that big breaking ball for a strike. Middle infielders have retreated to double play depth with the bases full of hogs. 3 runs in the bank this inning. Cole sprays one into the seats for strike 2, and now Sawyer's in the driver's seat.
He really is, and if you're Sawyer, you'd really love to be able to bounce a slider in the dirt trying to get the strike out of Cole, but then you're scared to make that throw because you don't want that ball scooting past the catcher. Another thought here is, you remember we talked about Hamilton, the Longhorn shortstop that has got, you know, a arm that's really bothering him. So ground ball to second, it may be tough for them to roll too.
Petrinsky set up off the corner, so that wasn't close. Looking in for his sign from the Longhorn dugout. It's a long sign. One ball and 2 strikes to Cole, and he taps one softly towards first. The throw home is a wild one. Reynolds uncorked it. This may have a chance to score a pair, but tagged at the plate is Cook. And the Hogs continue to run themselves out of some innings. David Pierce now coming out to talk with Tony Welsh, our plate umpire. Is he going to argue that Eric Cole was somehow in the baseline and the throwing angle of Reynolds?
I'm sure that's what he's going to do. He's saying, hey, he's running on the infield grass. My first baseman's trying to make a play, and he has to throw around the runner that's running down the first base line.
Arkansas will get the 5th run when Lee scored. The Cook cut down at the plate.
You can see him. He's basically saying that's why my first baseman threw it wide. Let's see where Cole's running here. He clearly is running.
Oh, my.
Oh, wow.
He's got a great argument, Troy.
He really is, and that's why the first baseman threw that ball over the top of Cole. Cole almost ran right at it.
Long conversation continues. Right now, Cole's at first base. That'll be an error on Reynolds and no RBI for Cole, even though there's a fielder's choice. But as this conversation continues, David Pierce is somewhat calm, but I think he's got a great argument.
Yeah, watch Cole out of the box. He starts out, and then he kind of veers to the inside. He's running down to the left of the line, and then he kind of veers back in. And he's literally running right at Reynolds, the first baseman. Now, in his defense, Reynolds was kind of falling kind of toward the line, but he was clearly to the left of the line. You're supposed to be to the right of that fair foul line down first base.
Now the other argument is, to me, it almost looked like Evan Lee was going to be safe regardless, but this is one of these cases where it's the plate umpire where you don't often ask for help if you think he has the call. It's his call, so if David Pierce can't discourage Tony Walsh out of his call, Cole's going to stay at first and the Hogs have their 5th run. I have a feeling we might be seeing that play on an umpiring video at some point.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that was one that this crew just did not get right, and the Hogs were the beneficiaries on that play.
The tough part was Cook was cut down at the plate, so Biggers was out at third to end last inning, Cook out at the plate after the run scored this inning.
Yeah, Cook thought it was going to be more of a carom off the wall. It came off pretty true, and
Kerstead strokes one to right. Back goes Todd. He will track it down to end the inning. 4-run score, 9 men bat, and the Hogs with a 5-2 lead. We'll hear from head coach Dave Van Horn right after this.
Readiest.
Hogs coming off a big inning. Let's hear from the head Hog, Dave Van Horn, with Haley.
Coach, Casey Martin has been on absolute fire. What can you say about his freshman season so far?
Well, he just brings a lot of energy to the game and can stress out a defense a little bit. I mean, he can hit the ball out of the park, obviously, but he's awfully quick and very, very fast. And if you bobble a ball, he can beat it, and make a mistake and hit it out of the park. I mean, just a good combination of power and speed. He got a lot of quick twitch is what we like to call it, and we'd like to have a whole lot of those guys.
You put together a tough schedule for your team this season, but what does that mean for your midweek pitchers facing teams like Texas?
Well, it'll definitely get them ready for, when their opportunity comes to pitch on the weekend or, pitch in a regional when we got to come up with a big win. I mean, hopefully it'll just get them ready.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
It's a good point. You pitch in these midweek games, they're far from gimmies when you're facing teams like Texas or Texas Tech later, so it's an opportunity now for Barrett Losky, who becomes the 3rd Arkansas pitcher of the game.
Yeah, Barrett Losky's a guy that's got a good arm. He'll be in the anywhere from 90 to about 93, maybe even hit 94 with that fastball. Has a really unusual delivery, very quick with his feet, and almost kind of throws like he was a converted second baseman. He wasn't, but I mean, he has a very short arm motion, and the ball gets on hitters very quickly. So that 93 almost looks like 95, 96 out of the arm of Losky.
What'd you see out of Caleb Bolden today in his 3 innings in relief?
Man, just a calmness as he brought into the game, as the game was kind of getting out of control with the walks by Hunter Milligan early, and he just kind of settled things down, really gave Arkansas a chance to get back in the ball game.
Speedy Cameron Fields will lead off. He saw 1 pitch in the 2nd inning, hit a comebacker, and was retired for the Garland, Texas native. Takes one right down the middle for a strike. See the numbers for Bolden today.
You saw how quick that Losky goes to the plate. I almost think that Fields wasn't ready.
I agree.
Usually you've got a guy like Blaine Knight or Isaiah Campbell that's got a long, slow, deliberate windup. Losky's just short and quick, and bam, before you realize the ball's out of his hand.
His knee rocks me to sleep. The pendulum, the knee, it starts swinging, and all of a sudden he's throwing 93 at me, and I don't know what to do. How about this guy being a district MVP in both football and baseball in his senior season in Texas?
They play a little bit of football in Texas,
Yes,
don't they?
they
In high
do.
school?
Good pitch. Field's carved up.
Wow. Picture perfect. Just painted black right there by Lowski.
Right now, Fields is saying, I like throwing that football. This baseball thing is tough.
It's just something you can't do anything with. Outside on the black fastball at 90, 91 miles an hour. Also look at that shadow between the pitcher's mound and home. That ball almost disappears on the hitter.
Wilson with a dive at second, but he has no chance to get the speedy Hibbler. Didn't risk a throw, and that's an infield base hit for the Longhorns leadoff hitter.
Yeah, I think that's a heads-up play by Wilson. Just great athleticism to get to that baseball. Knowing who's at the plate, a guy that can really scoot down the line. You see Wilson really extend and come up and go, nope, it's not worth it. Now you still have the double play in order. You throw that in the stands, and you got a guy on second base.
He's been busy at second base. Wilson making the start for Shaddy this afternoon. Here's David Hamilton. He walked and scored back in that first inning. That infield base hit by Hibbler, just the second hit of the game for the Longhorns.
You feel like this game is a wider margin than what it really is, because it's just been all Arkansas since that first inning. But you got to remember, Texas put up 2 runs without a hit, so it hasn't been those 2 runs were so quiet. But still 5-2. I mean, this is a ball game.
1 on, 1 out, 1 ball, 1 strike to number 1, who fouls one away to spoil our symmetry. Lowski has been preceded by Bolden and Milligan today as Arkansas pitchers on this Wednesday game, with the day off tomorrow, and then the SEC opener on Friday night when the red-hot Kentucky Wildcats come to town. Hogs would like to go in to that matchup with a couple of wins here against the Longhorns. Remember, they had to rally and scrap to come back and beat Kent State Sunday to take that series. Even though they won 11-4, it was a game they were trailing 4-1.
Yeah, that was a battle. Kent State's a good ball club. Team that went to the College World Series in 2012, and their head coach feels like they're real similar in 2018 to that 2012 team.
Everybody up on that top step today. There's Luke Bonfield, not in the lineup. Big cut by Hamilton. Cody Clemens, a good hitter on deck, so Lowski would like to get at least an out here. A lot of innings yet to fill in this game from this Arkansas staff. Now the count's gone full.
This is one of those pitches right here that could really kind of change the complexion of a ball game. You strike out, ground ball, Arkansas gets out of it, or Texas gets something brewing here in the top of the 5th.
Wouldn't be surprised to see Hibbler run, and there he goes. Even down 3 runs. Good contact hitter at the plate, good speed on the bases. Longhorns had something in motion.
Yeah, I think you take that chance. You want to stay out of that double play. You roll the dice on the risk of a line drive, double play. The chance of a fly ball or pop up are much greater.
New baseball for Lowski, same 3-2 count. Working here in the 5th inning. Runner goes again, and another foul ball back into the seats, and they filled up nicely as this afternoon's progressed. Why is Hibbler still standing at second base?
I don't know.
Was there a balk call?
Talking to you.
I don't think so. Maybe there was.
Talking to you.
nobody's catching it. The whole crowd knows exactly what's happened.
Out of all that, it doesn't matter, I guess, with the walk. Let's go back and see if we can pick up the balk. I don't get it.
I guess they're saying he didn't pause.
I was looking for maybe a knee buckle of some sort. But now he's got the 3 and 4 hitters up, so that 3-run lead is a little more precarious. Clemens and then Zubia. Clemens 0 for 1 with a sacrifice and a healthy cut.
Yeah, good fastball in the inside corner by Lowski. Yeah, you'd really want to get a double play ground ball right here if you're Barrett Lowski in Arkansas, because you really don't want Zubia coming up with anybody on base. We saw his power in last night's ball game, just an absolute rocket to right center for a home run.
Lowski misses. Ball and a strike to Clemens, a .375 hitter on the season. Inning started harmlessly enough when Lowski struck out the first man he faced. An infield single, a balk, a walk. And now there's traffic. Big cut from Clemens. He went airborne, I think, on that swing. I think his feet were both in the air on that cut. See if he leaves the ground like a helicopter.
That is a big hack and a big exhale after he made that swing. He was trying to tie it up in one swing.
He has 4 home runs this season. Smash off the glove of McFarland towards the right field corner. Hibbler will score. Hamilton will hold on the double from Clemens, and it's a 5-3 game. And right now, Lowski can't finish. He hasn't finished the last 2 hitters.
Just a great job by Clemens. You throw that barrel hit inside the ball. McFarland almost came up with a great play at first. Arkansas has got somebody down the bullpen. That's going to bring out Dave Van Horn. That's going to do it for Barrett Lowski.
Faced 4 batters. He is done. Tying runs in scoring position. The Longhorns have a run home here in the top of the 5th inning. Longhorns making things interesting here in the 5th. They have a run home. A couple of men in scoring position. Fans continue to soak up some sun in left field as Arkansas goes to the bullpen. Brings on their 4th pitcher of the game.
Yeah, another big freshman arm that Wes Johnson and Dave Van Horn can run out there. Cole Ramage been pretty successful so far in his early Razorback career, and a guy that's a good strike thrower. You see his strikeout to walk ratio is outstanding. That's what you want right here. You'd love to see a big strikeout with runners at 2nd and 3rd.
So after a strikeout to start the inning, then Lowski issued the infield single. It was a good diving play by Wilson. There was the walk to Hamilton. He got Clemens down in the count with a couple of strikes, but Cody doubled into the right field corner off the tip of the glove of McFarland. And now it's Ramage's job to try and limit the damage from this point on. And again, there's a lot of ball game left. And Wes Johnson with that pen at the ready knows that he's going to have to find maybe at least another reliever or 2 to finish off this game.
Yeah, just a little bit ago I saw Matt Cronin run down to the bullpen, so he's the guy that's probably going to be the closer for Arkansas. I think Jake Reinel's already down in the bullpen. I think they'd really like to get a W here. They got a day off tomorrow before they come in, and the Wildcats of Kentucky come to Fayetteville, and that is going to be a huge series.
One of the big weekend starters will not pitch in that set for Kentucky. Here's Zubia. Pretty good stop by Cook. Keep in mind, one run has already scored today in a wild pitch for the Longhorns. Zubia got an RBI on his ground out in the first inning. Hit a pop-up that Wilson had to track down out in right field from his second base position just an inning ago. Zubia wouldn't chase, 2-0.
It's a really good take by Zubia right there. That ball's borderline strike. Nothing he could have really done with it.
You keep pounding breaking balls to him, even at the risk of walking the bases loaded or seeing him go loaded?
Yeah, I don't know if I throw him anything close.
There's a breaking ball, so we have our answer. I had someone tell me before the series, Zubia could go 1 for 8 with 7 strikeouts and a home run to the street in the series.
Into a different zip code.
See what he gets, 3-0. 4-pitch walk, and the bases are full of horns.
And then you bring up Austin Todd, who has arguably hit one of the best balls for the Longhorns, a gap to right center, double.
Ramage is really going to grind that baseball and rub it down before he's ready to face Todd with the bases loaded. 6 walks today by Arkansas pitchers. And when we talked with David Pierce earlier, he talked about the patience of his hitters. Of course, it's easy to be patient when a pitch misses like that.
Ramage has thrown 5 pitches, no strikes.
Todd has flied to rather deep center and doubled to right center. My goodness, that was a cut.
I watched the game last night here at the ballpark that was on the big SEC network, and one thing about these Longhorn hitters, they do not get cheated. They were down 7-0, and they were swinging for the downs every time.
Had 3 homers in the game. Another cut and a miss. Boy, a strikeout here for Ramage would be huge. No place to put Austin Todd. Ramage working with Grant Cook. From the sunshine to the shadows, and that breaking ball, he's missed with that one a couple of times down in the dirt.
That's where you got to trust your junior catcher, and Grant Cook just smothered that thing. It didn't even kick off his chest protector and just roll anywhere. I mean, it just leaned forward and did exactly what you're supposed to do, push that thing straight down in the ground.
He's had 2 breaking balls that have missed in the dirt. He's got 2 swings and misses with the fastball, so he throws the fastball. Biggers will charge, a chance to get 2. There's 1, there's 2, double play! Biggers to Wilson to McFarland, and the Hogs are fired up.
Arkansas rolled 3 double plays in yesterday's game, and a huge one here. Bases loaded, 6-4-3, picture perfect.
Getting 3 in a row. That's a well-hit ball out to center field. That is over the fence. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me.
Well, this is a big error by Texas, a ground ball by Casey Martin down the third base line. Just an outstanding play by Clemens to get to that baseball, but then he knows who's running, and he just misfires on that throw wide of the first baseman Reynolds. That allows a run to score, and then Martin to scamper to second base and kind of set the tone for the Longhorns. A couple errors today, and a team that came into this series fielding 970, and you can see where those couple errors that's really cost them.
Texas, once they get back in their ballpark, Dish Falk, you've got to play clean games. So you don't see a lot of home runs in that stadium, as you well know, and pitching and defense become even more important.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's the pitchers of old you talk about. Guys like Roger Clemens and Calvin Schiraldi, Greg Swindell, those big power pitchers that kept that ball down in the zone. And you're right, that field is big. It's very pitcher friendly.
So Sawyer, the left-hander back out there. McFarland started last inning where 9 batted. He walked and scored. Hughes went foul. Wide of first base towards Craig Perry. We told you Sawyer's story earlier about going in almost 700 days without pitching. I like his glove. I've got to get me one of these. He's going to turn it over just a little bit. You're going to see the state of Texas flag on there for the Texas kid. How about that little?
That's pretty cool.
Add-on.
I don't think I've ever seen that
state
before.
Flag on the glove. Now, Troy, I haven't spent a number of years in that state. I will let you know that the Texans are very proud of that state flag of theirs.
I'm a little surprised that they let him have that with the discoloration of, somebody could argue it could be a distraction. You think about guys, make them take off wristbands and things like that, or any kind of tape. They may have, like we saw in the Kent State game, they brought in a third baseman to pitch, and he had his wrists all taped up. They had to take all that athletic tape off. But
yeah, there's a little white on that Lone Star.
Well, you think about distractions. Last season, Blaine Knight had a gray glove. Sometimes you see, I think Jared Gates, his first baseman's mitt is gray. And they came out there before he threw his first pitch and like, hey, you can't use that glove, and had to go borrow somebody's black glove. So now he pitches with a black glove this season.
Can't keep Jordan McFarland down. Another base hit. Good beginning to the bottom of the 5th inning.
McFarland's reached base twice. Grounded out to second, his first at bat, a walk, and then a base hit right there. And you're right, he's a guy that's just seeing the ball well, not pressing. And
let's check in with Haley.
Arkansas center fielder Dominic Fletcher's had a slow start to his sophomore campaign, but he did have a hit in the bottom of the 4th. And according to hitting coach Nate Thompson, his confidence is really coming back, and he expects the hits to keep coming in. Thompson said at the beginning of the season, Fletcher was trying to overpower and force hits, which is something you cannot do as a hitter. Thompson said that this has been a good learning experience for Fletcher to figure out how to overcome this adversity.
Yeah, it's one of those things in baseball. Sometimes the more you try, the adverse effect takes place.
Yeah, I always remember anytime I really started pressing, the baseball looked like a BB coming up there. You didn't pick up spin, and the more relaxed you are, the bigger the baseball looks. That's why anytime you ask a guy on a 3-0 count, would you have hit that? And he's, oh, I would have hit a home run, because you're so relaxed, it looks huge.
So now the count goes to 3-0. And I started to ask this question when he got the base hit in the 4th inning, Troy. He's 61 at bats into this season, so you go through a week or two of it, you say it's not that big of a deal. And we know it's early in the year, but you start to get that many at bats under your belt. When do you start to become aware that it's no longer just a week or two thing?
Oh, he was well aware of it. It reminds me of my junior year. I started about the same way. It was about 50, 60 at bats in. I'm hitting like 200, just like Dominic. And I remember Coach DeBryan, my coach, came to me and he said, hey, you're going to be my left fielder. Don't even check the lineup.
This has been the problem for Dominic, pop-ups. The problem as well for Hibbler, but he makes the catch for the first down.
But anyway, back to my story. He just said, you're going to be my left fielder. Don't even check the scorecard. You're going to be in the lineup. And it was almost like he just took that pressure off of me, knowing, okay, well, you get to that point, you're thinking, well, if I don't get a hit or two today, I'm not going to be in the lineup tomorrow. And when a coach kind of takes that pressure off of you, that helps a lot.
Casey Martin has 2 more hits today. couple of RBIs, and another home run. You see his season numbers. But this one's popped up. So after a leadoff base hit, a pop up to second, and this one may drop. My goodness, Reynolds had to come in and get it in fair territory. And Martin wasn't running, so had that ball dropped, that was going to be a double play.
Yeah, no, that's right. He should have let that drop. They would have got an easy double play. See Martin right there. That ball starts out so far foul, and you see where the first baseman is, and he comes all the way back. You can see McFarland standing on first, Martin standing at home.
I would suggest with the last 2 days that Casey's depth perception might be a little bit off on fair. I just want to run. As Evan Lee steps in, McFarland's running, and a good throw may get him, and just like that, the inning is over. So the Hogs have lost 3 runners on the bases today at second, third, and home. This is a young Longhorn team, and the reason why, well, they had a total of 11 players drafted last year. That tied for the most in the nation. There's some of the notables. See the Dodgers, Rockies, Nationals represented, and Casey Clemens to the Toronto Blue Jays. I'll tell you what, it's awfully tough when you start losing that many players, whether you're prepared for it or not.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And so you got to think about what that does to your class, and there it is right there. You know, you've got a pretty good representation of juniors, but when you talk about the same amount of freshmen and sophomores, that's going to bring a lot of inexperience to your ball club.
You go out and get a lot of JUCOs. You saw 9 of those. There's Ryan Reynolds. He struck out 2 times in today and leads off this inning with a big cut. Arkansas trailed 2-0 before they came to bat. Lead by 2 runs here. Each team has had some opportunities. The Hogs, quite frankly, have run themselves out of some innings.
Yeah, Grant Cook got thrown out at the plate, and I think there was somebody else got thrown out at third base, and that was really unfortunate. It was Jax Biggers.
Biggers trying to go first to third.
Yeah.
Evan Lee caught stealing at second to end last inning. Or McFarland, I should say, when Lee was at the plate. Dave Van Horn has used 4 pitchers in this game. Right now, Cole Ramage is on the hill for him.
Several bodies down the bullpen, no one throwing. And that shadow has almost engulfed the pitcher.
Smoke to center for a base hit by Reynolds. So a good beginning for the Texas 6th inning.
Good job by Reynolds, just staying right through that baseball. Maybe hit it a hair out on the end of the bat. Kind of had a little bit of funky sound, but good contact and kept that head down.
Looks a little bit like Dad. Father Shane. DJ Petrinsky.
Arkansas looking for a ground ball. They get the catcher at the plate. Usually a good double play candidate.
You called for it. Jax will take it himself. On cue, a 6-3 double play.
That's one of those ones Jax knew he had all day long. It was a chopper about belt high. A couple bounces, and then I love how much watch him take his time right here. First of all, he gets the big hop, and then he goes, I got it, steps and gets out of the way of the base runner, and he still gets the guy at first base by about 3 or 4 steps.
Eliminate the middleman.
Exactly.
It'll cut down costs. Here's Duke Ellis.
And you saw him how he hit second base, and then he got out of the way of the sliding runner. Kind of cleared himself of that collision. You see sometimes guys will try to go right over the top of him or jump and throw at the same time. Just make it simple. Don't try to be too cute and fancy.
See what Duke Ellis has done today? Well, it's been a long time since I called some of his father's games. So, if Bull, you're watching, it's been 17 years. That's my goodness.
So you were 12 at that time, right?
Where'd that miss?
sure. Ramage, not much expression. He did kind of do a little pivot on the mound and kind of took his back to the home plate umpire, Tony Walsh.
Going to be a tough play for Wilson. No chance to get Ellis. So another base runner. Wilson's been tested on some plays today. He's hit 2 where he's really had no shot. He's made another where he had to do a wild flip with his glove. That was almost like playing on turf. When that big bounce took place, you knew it was trouble.
Right. Yeah, that's looks like what happens at Dish Falk. That turf, when it gets hot, gets really springy.
Cameron Fields 0 for 2. Getting a chance to start in the left today, batting in the 9 spot.
Trying to tie this game up with one swing. That's the thing, it's just a 2-run ball game. Texas chipped back and scored 1 in the top of the 5th.
Boy, we've seen these guys that have been playing for a couple of years and all their bats are lacquered up with pine tar and they've got all kinds of marks on them. For Cameron Fields, hasn't had a hit yet. That bat looks like it's come straight out of the rack.
It looks like he still has the plastic on it, so it didn't get scratched. He's like, hope he remembered to take it off. That thing is shiny.
I mean, there's one blue mark, I guess, but might have come in BP. Everything else, that handle's looking pretty new.
Sporting the cool batting gloves as well, too.
Indeed.
It's going to look like a little Spider-Man action there in the batting gloves. Or at least pinstripes, anyway.
He's all Nike'd up. Two-run Hog lead here in the 6th inning. Ramage trying to end this frame rather than see the lineup turn over. Top of the lineup has been trouble. That bunt's going to just take a left turn. Fields was going to show off his speed, and Cook said, you know what, I'll just let that one roll foul.
I like how fast Cook bounced up, but when you know a guy can fly down the line like Fields can, as soon as that thing got foul, he pounced on it. It did have a lot of backspin. It was going to roll foul anyway, but you never know if it's going to hit a dirt clod or the grass and roll back fair.
He put some spin on that one.
I haven't seen Ramage throw that breaking ball for very many strikes, but I try to come back with it right here.
See if he can get a chase swing. Ellis has stolen 4 bases over at first, so Ramage will try and keep an eye on him. There was the slider. And boy, that's a pitch he just hasn't been able to harness.
Yeah, sometimes you don't want to hang it, so you overthrow it and spike it. I guess when you're only up 2 runs, that's the result you'd rather have. Now you really want to go get Cameron Fields right here. You don't want that runner to get a head start with a full count and ball in the gap and score easily.
Swing and a miss. Fields down on strike, so a hit. Couple of hits, in fact, but a double play. Longhorns leave a man. The Hogs up 2.
Let's take a look at how the runs were scored in this game. A wild pitch by Hunter Milligan. Pushed a run across for the Longhorns, and then Casey Martin answered with a home run off the back of the wall in the bullpen for Arkansas. And then the 4th, Evan Lee with a blooper down the left field line, scoring 2 runs. And you see on the throw to the plate, Casey Martin sliding in safely. And then back in the 5th, with 2 men on, the ball hit by Cody Clements down the line, scored 1 run. Texas was able to come back and get that game to 5-3, but Arkansas again still holds that lead. And again, the Longhorns trying to chip away and get this game back in where they can do something with it.
Yeah, after that Clemens double, then Ramage came on. He walked Zubia. The bases were loaded, but Austin Todd hit into a double play that ended the inning. and the threat for that matter. So here's Evan Lee in the home half of the 6th inning. Evan 2 for 2.
That double play has been Arkansas's best friend in these last 2 ball games against the Horns.
You could even take it back a day further and go back to Sunday with all those crazy double plays we had. There was the line out double play, and there was the bloop double play to second to Shaddy.
It kind of changed the tone of that game against Kent State on Sunday.
Strike over the inside corner, left on left, but even that'll bring a visit from Petrinsky. Texas leads this all-time series 54-29. Before last night, though, teams hadn't met since 2012, and for the Longhorns, they had not been here since 1991, when this facility didn't even exist. They played at Old Cole Field. And last night, Troy, listening to a little bit of the game on the radio, some of your old-timers were talking about chasing foul balls at the old ballpark, and if it would hit Razorback Road, it would start rolling downhill, and it would take 10 minutes to go get it and come back.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was freshman detail. Go get the foul ball.
Lee gets a piece and fouls it away.
The really bad thing is when a little kid would get it, and you had to take it from them. You're like, we're on a limited budget. We need that baseball back. It's a little different here at Baum Stadium.
Wrestling the kids out on Razorback Road mid-game.
It was terrible. At least at Little League parks, they get them like a stick of gum or something. We just had to take it from them. It's like, that's our batting practice ball tomorrow. Everyone's got a scuff in it.
Lee will chase. Sawyer the K for the first out here in the 6th.
Really good breaking ball by Sawyer right there. Seemed to just kind of carve up Evan Lee. Guy that's been pretty hot with the bat. Be interesting to see how they approach Grant Cook. We've seen all right-handers throw breaking balls away from Cook. Let's see if the left-hander Sawyer tries to still work Cook on the outside corner.
I think he's due for a long one. They've kept that ball away.
Well, Cook is a guy, again, he stands well off the plate. Tremendous power, likes the ball from about the belt to the letters. So he'll tomahawk a fastball.
He got one, but it was elevated.
Also a guy looking for middle to in right here. He's 2-0. So you've got to shrink down that strike zone to about a quarter of the size and look for a pitch in a certain spot.
3-0. Lee struck out to start the inning. Cook taking. Well, that's the one you know you have to take, but you just grind your teeth when you see it come over the inside corner.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that at times Dave Van Horn doesn't take a chance with guys like Grant Cook that know the strike zone very well and just turn them loose right there.
Ball 4, so a base runner. Hogs really wouldn't mind a few more runs, the way this game is teetered a couple of times.
Good look at Dave Van Horn. Hunter Wilson looking for an opportunity to get a big hit right here. He's playing for the redshirt senior second baseman Carson Shaddy.
He thought he had a bunt base hit. You see that sacrifice this last time in. He thought he beat it, and it was awfully close.
That is a big breaking ball from out of the left hand of Sawyer. That thing, Wilson just gave up on that thing halfway home. And
he's jumping out of the way.
Yeah, he was bailing.
Grant Cook would like to think he's a threat, and he does have a stolen base this year, which doubled his career output to 2.
Don't think that's on the scouting report, threat to steal.
No, that was a delayed steal as well. And he would have been out had the ball not been kicked loose. Craig Perry over there at first base. Got the Scouting report in his back pocket and stopwatch as well. Chance for the Longhorns to get 2. Double plays have been in vogue today, and the inning ends 1-6-3. 6 innings complete. Feels like it should be dinner time, but on we go to the 7th. 5-3 Arkansas. Who's ready for the conference opener? Well, be careful what you ask for, because the Kentucky Wildcats will be here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they're up to 4 in this week's USA Today ESPN poll.
Yeah, just an outstanding baseball team, and getting led by All-American outfielder Tristan Pompey, a switch-hitting guy that doesn't look very big in stature, but's got some good power as well, too, and the guy that's going to go high in the draft this year.
He's missed some time, but he came back this last weekend. Still not 100%. They're replacing so many different offensive starters.
Yeah, Evan White at first base was a guy that could really field and hit.
Zach Thompson, though, one of their starters, will miss the series with a flexor strain. Blaine Knight, you know he'll be on the hill on Friday night. Can also catch bases loaded as it kicks off. Sampling around the SEC. Top of the lineup in the top of the 7th for the Horns, and Ramage back out there, rolls one in for a strike to Hibbler. Hibbler out of Cypress in the Houston area. He scored 2 runs today, walked in the first, reached on an infield single in the 5th, advanced on a mystery balk. We've had a few of those in this series.
The phantom balk.
It's like Bob Davidson is in the ballpark, because all of a sudden you look up and someone's been given a base. Hibbler, though, comes to Texas through Odessa College. So we talked about the number of JUCOs that Coach Pierce had to bring in. Wondering what it's like to play baseball in Odessa, out there on the plains. I got a feeling the ball might be a little bit dry and it might carry a bit.
I'm just wondering if do they have grass on the field? I mean, it's going to have to be watered like 24/7. It's like playing on the moon, isn't it?
Yeah, that Texas League, you get out there to Midland, some of those cities, El Paso back in the old time days. Good hitters parks. Strike 3 called. Hibbler down looking.
Good way for Cole Ramage to kind of set the tone of the 7th inning. Just paint the outside corner. And look at this location with that fastball. Hibbler does not agree. Watch his reaction right here when he hears the strike call. He's like, whoa. Yeah.
Velcro.
Yeah, don't agree with that.
David Hamilton, another tough out. Boy, that thing fluttered in there. Straight change?
Yeah, straight change. That was pretty. A little gravity working on that one.
That one just missed. Hamilton wants to put the ball on the ground and showcase his speed. He's ahead in the count, 2 balls and a strike.
We talked about him at shortstop having an injury with that arm and just kind of gutting through the ball game right now.
Ramage needs a strike. It's 3-1.
Hamilton's learning pretty quick. Hey, they're not going to call the outside corner. I'll just keep taking it.
Wasn't that much different than the previous pitches, but that one he got the strike call.
I agree. It's a little inconsistent out of Tony Walsh there. Almost looked like it was more out than some of the other pitches.
Ramage with a quick shake and a nod in agreement. Tailing down the left field line, bending towards the seats into the sunshine as Kerstad gave chase. See activity going in the Hogs bullpen out there as the fan gets the baseball.
Looks like Arkansas's got Jake Reindl warming up.
Oh, he's going to give it to the kid.
No, you have to. You're going to get shamed
Well,
if you don't.
I go back and forth on that one. Here's the payoff. That's a walk. A lot of those pitches were in a very similar location.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I think that was probably the right call. Let's see if this one floats off the end of the plate.
Yep.
Looks like it did. Bad thing for Arkansas is that's going to put the tying run at the plate.
And more importantly, the most dangerous hitters in Clemens and Zubia, and these are the guys that with one swing can change a game. It really feels like this lineup is top heavy for Texas. And it was Clemens who had an RBI double in the 5th.
We talked about Hamilton can really run. I'd really be surprised if they would start him right here. You've got the tying run at the plate. You don't want to run yourself out of a big inning. You've got a pretty decent lead over there, but sometimes it may just be a one-way lead.
9 bags on the year, though, for Hamilton, and he got a great jump. Cook has a great arm. Here's the throw. Did he win the battle? Yes, sir! Biggers had to fight him for some real estate and made the tag.
Hamilton tried to slide to the back corner of the base. He knew that play was going to be really close. Just a great throw by Cook right on the money. And Hamilton slides off the base. You see him going for that back corner, avoiding the tag of Biggers. Biggers stays with him. He sees that hand come off, and what great effort by Jax Biggers.
And this could end the inning. Is it going to stay in play? No. With a thud, it lands on top of the roof.
I'm really shocked that David Pierce sends him right there. You've got the tying run coming to the plate, and now you've run yourself. If the guy hits a home run, you're still down a run. I know you get him in a scoring position, but you got your 2 best hitters coming up. I don't agree with that call.
If Clemens hits one right at McFarland, then you'll know he'll regret it. Strikeout, inning over. We're going to stretch him out here at Baum Stadium. Biggers, Cole, and Kerstad do up, and the Hogs lead by 2. Let's talk freshman production.
There's a couple guys getting it done, aren't they? Look at those numbers.
I mean, we talked about Kerstad for 2 weeks for good reason. All of a sudden, here comes Casey Martin on the inside track.
He's just crushing him in the slugging percentage. He's like, hey, big man, you thought you could hit the home run? Not so fast.
Tell you what, that bodes well for the future, this program.
Yeah, it really does. You know that there's a lot of guys that are going to be highly drafted, almost kind of like the Texas team from a year ago and losing 11.
That's right.
It's going to be, they could get close to that number with Arkansas this season.
Sawyer has been in there since the 4th inning. Here comes Biggers leading off the bottom of the 7th. Jax has walked his last 2 plate appearances.
Kind of feel if you're an Arkansas fan, you really want to push another run across right here.
Right to Reynolds. Easy play, 1 gone. Reynolds looks like he maybe played some football in his day.
Yeah, he's solid.
Big young man. Born in Sugar Land, Texas, and then finished his high school in Louisiana. Eric Cole, 0 for 3 with a couple of Ks. Hard liner, that's fair, and it should be extra bases into the corner. Cole will turn and cruise to second with another extra base hit. He has 24 hits on the season in total.
He just continues to pound the baseball from both sides of the plate. That's what's so unusual about Eric Cole. He just hooks that. No play for Clemens over there at third base, and no chance to throw out Cole. He just kind of put it in cruise control. The thing that always cracks me up about Cole is every time he hits a ball for a double, as he's rounding first base, he always kind of grabs his helmet. It's like he's making sure that it doesn't fall off his head or get loose and block his vision.
Funny thing you say that. I was watching the same thing. He didn't want to lose the lid, even though he's got the flow going on.
Well, that's probably why he has to hold it onto that hat.
Heston Kirst, there's the flow coming out of the back of the helmet.
I'm just jealous of it. That's all it is.
You should be. Are you familiar with the Seattle Mariners commercials, what they do every year?
No.
They always have something unique and funny. They have a series of incredibly creative commercials, and they have some out too, but they've got a guy who's bald. He's trying to do the flow, and a player comes in and throws his hair back, and it's worth if you're sitting at home one night on Google,
I have to look it up.
Check out Seattle Mariners commercials. I guarantee you it's worth your time. Heston lined to right his last time in, set an infield base hit. One thing we haven't seen today from Texas, Troy, that we saw last night was some incredible defensive shifts.
Yeah. You're right. They had with especially with 2 outs. I think it was Dominic Fletcher. They took the third baseman and they put him in between the second baseman and the first baseman. Just left that whole hole open and did that big shift.
And part of that is what David Pierce has done, spending time with the Houston Astros. Kerstead will have to be recorded out at first base on a strikeout, and there's 2 gone. And here comes Coach Pierce, but he has spent a lot of time kind of buying into what the Astros have done at the major league level. The one thing is, I think it's harder in college for pitchers to throw balls exactly where you want them compared to the big league pitchers.
Exactly. A big league guy is going to throw that ball wherever the positioning is focused and that strength of the defense is, and you just don't get that consistency at a really good level in college.
Looks like Coach Pierce wants to bring on a righty. We'll step aside. Bottom of the 7th, 2-run Arkansas lead. We've gone from mid-afternoon into early evening. Into the bottom of the 7th. Hogs up by 2 runs. Longhorns have gone to the bullpen. They'll bring on their 4th pitcher of the game. It's Andy McGuire.
Yeah, he's going to be a side armor, and in that upper 80 slot, might touch 90 with that fastball, but again, it's just a different release point, and those side armor guys are really tough on right-handed batters, and that's where they go to get him right now is David Pierce does, the head coach of the Longhorns. He's saying more tough matchup against a right-hander, Jordan McFarland, coming up.
He's a well-traveled young man, born in Morocco. He lived in Indonesia, grew up in Virginia, went to school at James Madison, and finds himself here in Texas. Didn't play over the last couple of years. Didn't play in 2016 or 2017. But he comes on to face Jordan McFarland, who's been batting in that cleanup spot for good reason, because we talked about McFarland hitting for Gates back on Sunday, and he would finish with 2 homers and 5 RBIs in his last 2 at-bats. So he got the start yesterday at first base. 2 more hits, 4 more RBIs. And today he singled and walked, so Gates looking pretty comfortable with the day off. But, that hammy, hopefully he's going to be okay after some incredible stretches at first base this weekend.
Yeah, he almost did the split several times over there at first base. And, again, a very athletic first baseman in Gates, and Jordan McFarland filling in nicely.
Runner at second is Cole with 2 outs. McFarland tries to stay on that pitch and hits one off the top of the skyboxes. Hogs did a lot of their damage. 4 runs in the 3rd inning, even though they left a couple of runners and lost a man at the plate that frame. McFarland started that inning with a walk. Hogs would probably like at least 1 more run. They're going to get one here. That ball's down. It's going to go all the way to the advertising. Cole's going to score. McFarland drives in another run, and he's on an RBI binge.
I just love his approach right to that at-bat. Staying down with the ball, thinking up the middle the other way. That pitch is on the outside corner. Not a bad pitch, but just a better job of hitting by McFarland. Cole scores easily, and you're right, Jordan McFarland's just on fire.
Gates' hamstring just feeling a lot better right now.
That's a big run for Arkansas. He's got a little bit more of a breather. I mean, still not out of reach, 6-3, but you feel like even the 2-run homer can't come back and tie that ball game up.
Pitch misses to Fletcher.
Fletcher's looking a little less jumpy at the plate. Seems like he's kind of starting to settle in.
Sends one the other way. This ball's carrying, but not enough as Fields makes the catch. 2 in the inning. Couple of doubles, plates a run. 7 innings complete. 6-3 Hogs. It's a 6-3 Arkansas lead as we go to the 8th inning. Let's check in with Haley.
Last weekend, Texas hosted Stanford in Austin, and these two teams did a little more than just 3 games of baseball. Now, Texas works very closely with an organization called Play Ball, which teaches children how to play baseball. And for the most part, these children come to playing baseball for the first time. Now, before their game on Saturday, Texas and Stanford players took to Play Ball to host a special clinic in Austin. So they even had former Texas players joining the event like Drew Stubbs. Now this is just a great example of how you can be opponents on the field, but together in the community.
Now, Play Ball, great cause. Goes along with RBI and just spreading this game. I mean, we love it. We've been around it our entire lives. But for those kids that haven't or, might play basketball or football, just keep spreading the word.
Former Arkansas player Tom Pagnazzi has a charity, and they give equipment to underprivileged kids. So that's a really cool thing, that as well as money for camps and things like that. So Arkansas is going to bring in the right-hander Jake Reindl. He's one of the guys that Dave Van Horn said we need him to be big throughout this season. He's kind of the glue to that bullpen, a guy that can come in and maybe close out a game on a Friday night and then turn around and pitch on a Sunday as well. So again, he's a guy that throws 3 different pitches, fastball, curve, and changeup, but he throws them from 3 different arm slots, so it's almost like you're getting 9 different pitches from the same guy.
See his numbers on the season. Texas down to their final 6 outs, but they'll have Zubia leading off this 8th inning. Well, he fills up the batter's box, does 52, Zach Zubia. Reindl starts him with a breaking ball that misses. That RBI total, by the way, would be number 1 on the Hogs stat sheet. Good pitch there for a strike. What have you seen out of Reindl, though, this season?
He's a guy that just can really battle and been pretty consistent with his location of his pitches. Talked to him at different times, and he said Wes Johnson grades them on the accuracy of their pitches. Are they executing the pitch? And so he said his last outing he didn't feel like he pitched as well as he should, but he still executed on 80% of his pitches. So throwing the baseball where he wants to, and that's the key for Jake Reindl.
That one pretty close to sweeping across that outside corner.
You can really see Grant Cook's reaction right there. He just went down to his knees and just kind of can't believe that's not a strike. Again, the execution. Give it to Tony Walsh. He's consistent. That's the same location that he called the last one a ball.
Zubia crushes one to left. Kerstead turns around, looks up, plays it off the wall. He's got a chance to throw him out at second base, but the throw is offline or they would have had him.
Oh, yeah. Kerstead had a little more time. If he would have taken his time and had an accurate throw, you're right. That ball was ripped by Zubia.
Zubia even stopped, I believe, halfway between first and second, and then said, I better put it into gear. Brings up Austin Todd. Maybe we can get a shot at some point in this sequence of Todd and his grip. He's got a thumb problem, so he actually has been using kind of one of those rubberized grips between his hands to keep his pinky finger from grinding into his thumb. You see him right there lose one of the hands on the bat. So it's one of those situations where, see that rubberized piece? It's right between his hands. So, I mean, he's not completely tie-cobbing in this thing here with the split grip, but there's some separation with those hands.
That's really crazy. It's almost like having like a knob halfway up the
Right.
bat.
I mean, which would feel really awkward for a lot of guys. Good bunt. Martin will charge, goes with the glove, throws to first, safe. Todd beats it out, and the tying run will come to the plate.
Just an excellent bunt by Austin Todd right here. You see this thing drop down, and that's the play that's had to be made. I don't think Randall can make that play. It's got to be Martin. Todd, I think he beats that ball, but look, he kind of really slows that.
He does.
Kind of chopped his steps. Usually you see guys lunge for first base. He did basically the opposite.
He was breaking it down. Well, Rindle's in a mess now. First and third, nobody out. Is Texas going to use a runner? Right now, Todd's walking off. He wants the mitten is what he wants. I thought somebody who can beat out a bunt doesn't need a pinch runner.
I was going to say.
But you know, with that hand, there it goes. So if you have something wrong with that thumb, you want to protect it.
Right. You don't want to. That mitt's used to keep you from jamming a wrist or jamming fingers into the ground when you slide. It keeps that hand completely straight. You're right. Arkansas would love to trade 2 outs for a run right here. They're playing back double play depth. They want something on the ground.
You asked for a double play earlier, and you got one on demand. But here's Reynolds, and he's going to smoke one into center, and Rindle has not been able to solve the Longhorns. A run will score, and it's a 6-4 game.
It's a great piece of hitting by Reynolds right there. Not a bad pitch down and away. He just hit a good pitch right back through the box.
Still nobody out in this 8th inning.
I think those breaking balls to Zubia kind of set the tone for Rindle. I mean, that's where he lives, on that outside corner with that slider. And when he didn't get that call, it's just like, okay, I've got to bring that ball over the plate a little bit more. That is a slow walk for Wes Johnson. And Matt Cronin down the bullpen, loosening up in a hurry.
7, 8, and 9 now, the scheduled hitters for the Longhorns. But again, the tying runs are on the bases as Cronin has a pretty high level of urgency to get loose. This is an interesting situation for Coach Pierce coming up, though, Troy. He's got his catcher up there who bounced into a double play his last time in, but hit 2 homers yesterday. If he bunts to put 2 runners in a scoring position, then you have the 8 and 9 hole hitters that you're trying to trust to tie or put you ahead.
Yeah, I definitely understand. That's an excellent point. We talked about this Longhorn lineup being more top-heavy offensively. I think they let him swing right here.
Sometimes I feel like you give a pitcher a break if he's struggling a little bit to get an out when you give him a sacrifice.
Right.
But we'll find out. This is the chess match that goes back and forth. Dave Van Horn, we'll see what he's expecting. Right now the corners are in a couple of steps, but not fully convinced that Petrinsky's going to bunt. It's a similar looking pitch to the one that Zubia had. Petrinsky again hit 2 homers yesterday. Wind earlier was really blowing out to left center. It's kind of died down a bit, but Hogs just a minute ago were up 3. Just having to sweat this out a bit here in this 8th inning. Front door breaking ball for a strike, and I don't think Petrinsky cared for that. Reindl, good pitch. If you can throw this pitch as a right-hander to a right-hander, I don't know how anybody would hit it.
Yeah, that almost backs up, and that
wasn't a strike.
I think that was a gift.
That wasn't a strike.
That was well inside. It was kind of almost like a makeup by Tony Walsh right there.
Petrinsky in protect mode here. Now the fans just getting great.
But a great 0-2 pitch. Off the plate. You're not going to get hurt. If he swings at it, you get a strikeout, or if he might foul it off.
Big pitch. Not close.
Again, Reindl going for the strikeout with that slider again.
I'm starting to feel like this is the last batter for Reindl in this game.
Yeah, especially with the left-hander on deck, no matter what happens, even if he induces a double play. I think you're right. I think they go get Cronin.
Very deliberate now between pitches. Well, you can't lose him now after starting 0-2. He's picked and nibbled into a full count. Still nobody out in this 8th inning. You see the traffic on the bases for the Horns, for the run in the bank. Lifted to left. This is a long run for Kjerstad. He'll make the catch, and the runners can't advance. So Reindl gets the first out. That was a battle that he had to win in this inning.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's not an easy play for Heston Kjerstad. You have to go a long ways. And when you're running, that ball looks like it's bouncing. If you don't get up on your toes, it looks like it's going to be bouncing in the sky. And you're right. Here comes Dave Van Horn. He's going to go get Matt Cronin, the left-hander.
Yep, you just had that feeling. Hogs will be on pitcher number 6 as Dave Van Horn takes the baseball. So with the tying runs on base here in the 8th inning, here comes Matt Cronin. Pressure time at Baum Stadium. Good ball game. 6-4 Arkansas over Texas, 8th inning. 1 out, couple of men on base. Another new pitcher for Arkansas. Here comes Matt Cronin.
Yeah, that's a great lefty-lefty matchup. Cronin, a guy that's probably going to be Arkansas's closer. He's going to be anywhere from 90 to 94 at that fastball, and straight over the top, has a huge breaking ball, sometimes a little difficult to throw for a strike. It curves so much, but pretty much a 2-pitch guy, and that's what you see out of relievers. They just kind of come right at you.
We talked a lot about his performance in California during the Tony Gwynn Classic and the game against Arizona that preceded it. And while the Hogs went 2-2, it was a big victory for Cronin. As Dave Van Horn said at his luncheon this past week, he said, Cronin, if he wasn't on all the scouting radars then, he is now.
Yeah, he was outstanding out on that trip to San Diego. And Dave Van Horn says, he goes, I don't know what it is, but left-handed batters a lot of times have trouble pulling the trigger on his fastball. He said it's just like he throws an invisible fastball up there against lefties.
You ready for the bunt? Really? Yeah. I guess. Communicating.
With 1 out?
That's why I said it with somewhat of a question in my
really strange positioning. Jordan McFarland basically even with the first base bag, very tight for a left-handed batter.
Ellis had an infield single his last time in. Looks at strike 1. See the corners creeping in. Ellis runs well. That I know he didn't get from Dad. But he did walk in the second. That one will go well foul down the left field line out of play. More than 8,000 paid here today at Baum Stadium, and we will have outstanding weather this weekend for Kentucky in the SEC opener. And I would imagine we'll have some big-time crowds as well.
Yeah, I think the fans are going to really come out for this Kentucky series. Just what a great matchup. A couple top 10 ball clubs.
Keep in mind, Arkansas fans, you'll be able to watch your Hogs Friday afternoon in the tournament and then see the Razorbacks play here Friday night. Plenty of time to do both. Your boss may not appreciate that, but you can get them both in.
Might be a lot of people calling it a sick day on Friday.
See if Cronin can finish off Ellis. Good piece of hitting. Drops one in front of Kerstead. Kerstead comes up throwing. This one's way high, and two runners will be in scoring position. It's a 6-5 game.
Just a huge freshman mistake right there by Kerstead. There's no way he's going to throw that runner out the plate, and he just airmails it and allows both runners to advance. You got to throw that ball to third base. You see that ball come in, Kerstead. The runner's already hit third base, and he just uncorks it. Overcook, and Cronin has to make that play. Now your double play's out of order.
If you throw to third, there was even a chance to get Reynolds possibly, but it would have kept Ellis at first base and kept the double play in effect. Now Jake McKenzie will pinch it. And the tying run is just 90 feet away, still only one gone.
Arkansas in at the corners. They're going to concede the run up the middle.
Strike one.
92 in that last fastball by Cronin. Really good piece of hitting right there in the last at-bat by Duke Ellis. That ball is on the outside corner. He just kind of went with it through his hands.
His second hit of the game, big RBI. McKenzie also a two-way player and a pitcher, and this will help the cause. McFarland near the mound records out number 2.
That's a huge pop-up right there. Cronin with that velocity. Jammed the hitter and just got the little bloop to the first baseman.
So Texas a base hit away from taking the lead. Arkansas an out away from ending this inning. Top of the lineup though, here's Hibbler. He's been on base twice. He's scored 2 runs. A .333 hitter. It gets by Cook, or did it hit him? It hit him.
Yeah, it hit him. That's lucky for Arkansas. I was almost kind of thinking, do you pitch to Hibbler right here because you got a left-hander on deck? And that solved that question.
It just certainly did. The bases are loaded now. The speedy Hamilton in, and he's walked 3 times. So if he's patient enough, he might be able to force in the tying run.
We talked about how big that curveball was for Cronin. You see that ball hit off the back leg of Hibbler. Nowhere to put him. And Texas is going to pinch hit right here.
Michael McCann, the catcher. Will pinch hit.
See McCann hitting less than 200 on the season, but they David Pierce, the Longhorn coach, feels like he's got a better chance with the right-hander going against Cronin.
Cronin just nibbling on that corner, gets a strike to McCann.
It's a big pitch right there. Kind of sets the tone of the at-bat.
McCann has 5 hits all season and 3 runs batted in. Well, he has 3 teammates on the bases here. Big cut, and it's strike 2.
93 on that fastball by Cronin. I don't bounce anything. I go up in the strike zone. You already proved he can't catch up to your fastball at that last one. You do not speed up his bat with anything off speed.
Bases full of Longhorns, 2 outs, 2 strikes, 8th inning. You took your advice, Troy.
I think that's a great 0-2 pitch right there.
What do you like here, 1-2?
I go right back at him. I try to go that outside corner. Stay with the fastball.
Hog faithful trying to will that man, Matt Cronin, for 1 more strike or 1 more out in this 8th inning. Good pitch. Throws McCann. The bases remain loaded.
You can hear the roar of the crowd. Arkansas is fired up, and the big strikeout looking with bases loaded, Matt Cronin.
Casey Martin came to the plate back of the 2nd inning, and here's the result.
Yeah, just a big fly to left field. You see it, it's going to ricochet off the back of the bullpen. And that man, Casey Martin, the true freshman out of Lone Oak, Arkansas, is just red hot. And Dave Van Horn talked about him. He's just a guy that changes the game. It makes defenses play a step closer. Infielders, outfielders have got to trust that his power, so they're playing a step back, and it just creates a little extra space.
So when Dave Van Horn was asked about Casey from Haley earlier, he used the same term that Nate Thompson used describing him to me earlier in the day, quick twitch. So explain quick twitch.
I think it's just somebody that is, when they decide to swing, that swing comes through quick. I mean, that's the terminology I'm going to use, is just somebody with a really quick bat.
Quick hands,
yeah,
2-0.
You know, quick feet. Just everything he does, that first step is just explosive. You think about a running back or a track star that just their first movement is going to be quick.
Hogs in that same position they were last inning, where you feel like they need a run. And Martin would like to get on, and he just took 4 pitches not close to the zone by McGuire. And that's great speed on the bases here in this 8th inning. And the Texas pitchers, much like the Razorback hurlers today, have been very generous with 3 base runners.
Now, in between innings, Evan Lee ran down to the bullpen. I think he did some light tossing because he not only hits and DHs, but he also pitches for the Hogs. So, Evan getting a little double duty and trying to be in 2 places at once.
It's hard to do. 2 hits and a strikeout today for Evan. He does not have a home run this season. Showing bunt, and that's 5 in a row that are missed from McGuire.
That ball's not even close for McGuire. They're going to give you an out. Take it. Throw it over the dish.
Grant Cook's on deck. Hogs up by a run in the 8th. Lee squares again. Good bunt. Play made by Petrinsky.
Yeah, very soft bunt by Evan Lee. Good bat control. Does his job. He's going to get a pat on the back by his head coach Dave Van Horn. Got a good job low 5 there by DVH.
That's a few attaboys. See if it leads to a run. Hogs looking for some insurance as Grant Cook steps in, having walked twice in the game.
You said he was due. You feel like anything middle to end, he's going to clobber it.
I liked him better against the lefty for a long ball.
The scouting report, at least from the Longhorns, is pitch Cook away. I think that's the MO of most teams so far early on this season.
McGuire in not much of a hurry, so time called. There's Casey Martin at second base, a walk and a sacrifice this inning. Hit well to right. Todd back. He'll make the catch. Martin's going to go to third. This is a pretty good throw, but coming to get it is Clemens. So 2 outs in the inning, but Martin 90 feet away.
It didn't seem like much, but now as a pitcher, you don't want to throw anything in the dirt with that runner at third base. It definitely changes the mindset of the guy on the mound.
Dwyer trying to work around the leadoff base on balls.
I'm going back a little bit, and McGuire almost has a look at me. I mean, he kind of looks like Houston Street, former other reliever from Texas.
A good one. Coach Pierce wants a new pitcher. We'll step aside. 6-5 Arkansas, bottom of the 8th. When play resumes, Casey Martin will be at third base. With 2 outs, Hogs looking for some insurance. They'll have to do so against another Texas pitcher, Matteo Bocchi, out of Italy.
That's a long ways to get a player. That's called doing some recruiting. I wouldn't mind taking that recruiting trip over to Italy.
Be a good one.
See Bocchi just trying to get loose and warmed up. He's going to be in that upper 80s with that fastball. Kind of a 3/4 delivery. That fastball runs into right-handed batters.
Says he needs 2 more. Either that or he gave the hook'em sign to his catcher, Petrinsky. Arkansas trailed 2-0 before they came to bat in this game. Arkansas also had a 5-2 lead, a 5-3 advantage, a 6-3 lead, and now it's 6-5 in the bottom of this 8th inning.
Talking about guys you think that are due, I think Hunter Wilson's due for hitting a line drive. He's one of those just really scrappy ball players. We saw some great defensive plays out of Hunter Wilson so far in this game. Hogs really need him to step up and get one more run of cushion going into the top of the 9th.
He's driven in 5 runs this season. We've had 11 pitchers in this game. Bocchi starts Wilson with strike 1. So, what does Petrinsky need to go to the mound after 1 pitch for?
And maybe he thought he wasn't stopping, didn't get a good pause. He said, "Hey, don't balk that run in."
That's very valid. This has been a balk-friendly crew. Came to a complete stop there and misses the corner. So the Italian, Bocchi, on the hill for Texas. We saw the Texas flag earlier on the glove of Sawyer. How about the Italian flag there?
You can kind of see it. Red, white, and green. Kind of hidden right there, but right on the top of the finger in the same location. There it is.
There you go. Feel like we're at the Olympics. Good pitch. Wilson's seen 4, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Long pause here from Bochy as Wilson just finally says that's enough, calls time.
Yeah, I think you got to do that as a hitter. Don't let that pitcher freeze you up there. He's a big batter right here, big pitch.
Line drive, center field, base hit, insurance run comes across in the presence of Casey Martin. And there's a leadoff walk that comes back to cost Texas a run.
Yeah, those walks are nightmares, and big clutch hit by Hunter Wilson. You see him stay through that pitch. That's a great pitch by Bochy. That thing's down below his knees. He just goes down and gets it. Sometimes as a pitcher, you go, man, I threw a great pitch. Guy just hit one outside the strike zone.
It's not a fair game, Troy.
That is not. That's so true.
Biggers watches that pitch called a strike. I might put Wilson in motion.
I was just thinking the same thing. I was going to say, you give Biggers one more pitch. This is a perfect count to run on it. If he gets thrown out and you go and they come back and tie the game up, then you have Biggers coming up.
That's right.
In the bottom of the 10th anyway.
If he rolls in one of those curveballs, you're going to steal it.
Exactly.
Otherwise, Jax might put it play anyhow. Not running. That would have been a good pitch to go on, but it missed.
Jax
77 miles an hour.
He's thinking about the bunt, and it almost took off his back foot. Be pretty athletic just to miss that, getting hit by that pitch. Wilson's got a pretty conservative leave over there at first. Does not look like he's going to go.
He does not. Then again, he might be able to walk to second base. 3-1. Hogs up to double digits in hits, 10, but they've also received their fair share of free passes. I think that's, are we up to 7? Seven. Also gives Eric Cole one more chance.
Yeah, I think that was a big walk right there. You've got Arkansas's most dangerous hitter coming up to the plate, and he's one of those guys that can really blow this thing open in a hurry.
Cole doubled in the 7th. Scored on a double from McFarland. Free base. ×2. Boy, I'll say it again, Troy. To me, the biggest difference between the professional level and the college level is the amount of wild pitches and pass balls you have in the collegiate game.
Yeah, it really is. These guys are still trying to grow into their bodies and get consistent with that release point and all the different pitches that they throw. And yeah, I remember talking to some of the guys that I played some minor league ball with, and they especially catchers, and they got to go catch guys in the big leagues. I remember play with the Rangers, and they talk about catching Nolan Ryan or Bobby Witt, and they're like, "What's the difference of catching those guys?" He goes, "They can hit the head of a pin with their pitches." He said they pitch and throw it exactly where they want to.
There's another ball in the dirt, but this time knocked down by Petrinsky.
Those minor league teams always use those, the big league clubs use the minor leaguers to go catch those bullpens, and he said it was just like a dream. He said they didn't have to work at it. They just, anywhere you set that glove up, bam, they hit it.
So 2 walks on a wild pitch, and you're a base hit away from maybe blowing this game open when it looked like Texas had a chance to take the lead last inning. Cole just hits that a mile foul. Disappearing from our view.
It was one of those pitches. It was right under his hands, and it's the only way to get the barrel on it is hit that about 50 feet foul over the top of the stands, the stadium. Good speed on the bases for Arkansas. Wilson at third, Biggers at second. Both are going to score on a base hit. Nobody holding Biggers close at second at all. He can get a mile off there.
3-1 to Cole.
Well, Cole's red hot, and they've gotten Kerstad today, so maybe they're thinking that it's okay to kind of pitch around Eric Cole. Kerstad struck out twice and a single.
See what Eric gets to hit. 3-1. Pretty good pitch.
Yeah, pulled the string, the changeup.
Wilson at third. Biggers at second. Cole trying to do some damage. Leads this team in base hits. Todd will retrieve and flip it up into the seats. That's a veteran move. You never throw it to the first row because if a fan drops it, you have to go pick it up again.
Exactly.
You put it 3 rows up.
Make sure if it ricochets around, it's going to stay up in there.
Bokey ready with a payoff to Eric Cole. Hard hit to second. And the inning ends. The Hogs leave a couple, but they do get an insurance tally. So on we go to the 9th. Clemens, Zubia, and Todd coming up, but it was Hunter Wilson with a big hit.
Yeah, big hit by Hunter Wilson. Just clutched up right there. Watch him go down to the strike zone to go get that one. Big RBI for Arkansas.
From Discover.
7-5 Arkansas as we go to the 9th, and the Longhorns have the men up that they would like. Clemens, Zubia, and Todd. And here's your upcoming schedule for the Hogs. Kentucky in this weekend. That Charlotte series will be interesting. And then, my goodness, a road trip to number 2 Florida.
Yeah, that's a huge road trip. Arkansas has had 13 straight games at home. And then they're going to go on the road after the Kentucky series. Charlotte, then to Florida, Memphis, and then down to Ole Miss. So 2 weeks they're going to be away from home. One of those weeks is spring break, so only missing about a week of class. This is like a big league road trip right there. At least minor league one anyway.
Clemens fights one off. It's 0-2, and this is a real big batter in this inning for Cronin.
I think if you're Cronin, you just got to keep runners off the bases. You're right. This sets the tone of the inning. And just him coming in there pumping a couple strikes is huge.
In the air, chased by Biggers. Long run. This is trouble. Kerstad the call, the leap, and the catch.
Well, you saw Biggers put out his right hand saying, I got it, I got it. And at the very end, Kerstad called him off. Biggers ducks out of the way. Watch that right hand. He's going, I got it, I got it. Kerstad's, nope. That's mine. It wasn't pretty, but it's an out.
You know what my rule is.
Don't hurt Jack. So don't hurt Kerstad or anybody.
Don't hurt anybody, but not him. Do not hurt him. Zubia hurt the ball when he doubled off the top of the fence in the 8th inning, kick-started a 2-run inning. Strike one.
Here to see Zubia. I'm not much of a lip reader, but I could read that, and he just said strike. It's like Tony Walsh goes, yes, it was.
It's a big young man in that box. That's a big swing.
It's big velocity right there.
Yes, sir.
94 by Cronin. He's reaching back. He's not leaving anything in the tank right here. We haven't seen that big curveball from him, and it's a dandy. Problem is, a lot of times you can't throw for a strike.
What are you waiting on there, Zach? And that's a pitch that Cronin just locked him up.
Man, that thing is gas in the inside corner.
I mean, sometimes you're in protect mode with 2 strikes, but Zubia just couldn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, he just froze him. That's big.
Longhorns down to their final out, and these 2 old rivals playing this midweek series. Here comes Austin Todd. Generous strike call, and Cronin will take it. Arkansas trying to improve to 13-4 on the season before they start conference play. Cronin left the bases loaded in the 8th. Trying to get the final out here in the 9th. It's Martin again. Ball game. And the Hogs win it 7-5.
Well, this fan base is happy about any win, but the win against an old Southwest Conference rival is just a little sweeter. But you know that there's better days ahead for that Texas team, just a young ball club. But Arkansas comes out and just kind of takes care of business today.
This was a good ball game today. Hogs again with the win. Now 13-4, and high fives and handshakes. Don't forget Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.